Wait for him anyway.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Here? I don't actually say that. How's your floor? So,
What'd you do? He got rich
I
money.
got a curse placed on me. I went up last Thursday night for my 10-year anniversary, and I woke up in the morning with my foot all swollen up. I got gout.
no.
It's not fun.
Too much privilege.
That's what the doc said too.
Hello. The disease of kings, you know.
Michael's
Yeah, that's what I was told. Yeah. The ones that used to like a lot of red meat, a couple of red wine.
You and Heather
Yeah.
settle in.
Oh, yeah.
For Caleb.
Yeah.
As he says, maybe it ought to remind him. I know, well, you know,
People are busy.
so I was at home one night and then he come to the office and I was
So get this.
Long time no see.
Yeah, you sure do.
Yeah, make sure I keep this one.
People with the
They
They have a lot more money than we have. That's all I
How you doing?
Pretty dirty.
He said 1 year.
I know.
No one
Stay on all the time.
Yeah, probably.
What's that?
I don't know how to, you know, the vent up top. I don't know how to get in there and clean it.
Usually the best thing is to blow it out. Usually you take a shop vac and spin it around the opposite way. If you get a air compressor, it's easier to blow them out. So, take it out. Even though it's.
DOT listing of work, 1.44.
The ones that were really hot this year.
1.44 million.
That's a lot of money.
It is. Crazy. Yes, I'm probably. All right. Well, see if people want some of that.
See how good our cleaning service is.
People doing what we do. How are you?
It's funny to watch people white ones that come out, they're still seeing the other side. Stripe it out. See the most of you do, it's heavy stuff.
Yeah, I know when you went around the corner, I came over there.
I know, we stopped at the, I know, when we stopped at,
I don't know. Different or I don't know what happened down around by the bridge there, it came up, they got up there, they run out of paint, or they always say the sun is paint.
Could have been a
Was a real quick man.
blows out.
So by the time we got home, we just saw like the last bit.
I'm sure it's like, I'm sure.
We can still get in. It's like close. It's like,
Oh, wait a minute.
so let's see.
What is the difference?
pretty set.
You're literally, it's all. You're just gonna pay everybody at the end of the year, so I will get every time.
Hey, Jim. Hi, how are you?
Goodness, I'm
Good.
Your report was such.
That was only about half of what you need.
Anyone want to?
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Other than a cold, this is just taking care of itself.
Yeah.
That's good.
I
think we're
Had the same thing. Yeah.
You think you were what last year?
Last year's spent.
You know how I'm looking at this? Maybe if I get a cold bright and early,
We're happy
maybe I'll
with this. I
be
think
cold
we're
free as
battling
well.
that.
Everybody else goes on.
Oh, yeah?
Pay your dues early.
Pay your dues bright and early, that's right.
Curtis, how are ya?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Come on, Felix.
Good, how are you? No, it feels like time to get everybody some help.
Yes.
Hard to believe this thing is September. Next one's October, we only got 2 months left.
I think it's gonna be October.
Welcome everyone to the Pittsfield Town Council meeting for Tuesday, September 17th, 2019. I ask that we please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would please ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. First item on the agenda this evening is the adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting held on September 3rd, 2019. And I look for a motion from the council.
Move we adopt the minutes as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions, comments? Councilors, any omissions, errors, anything that needs to be discussed? No? Okay, not hearing any, I sense you're ready to vote. All those in favor of adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting held on September 3rd, 2019, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and those minutes pass as presented. Next is presentations, congratulations, and introductions.
And the first presentation is by Transfer Station Recycling Coordinator Don Shute regarding options for fee structure at the Pittsfield Transfer Station, preliminary only. This was a request for the town council. So Donnie, the floor is yours, and he'll be setting.
I'm gonna be setting, I'm gonna be standing. I got gout in my left foot, so if I stand, you're gonna see it going and cry. Basically, yeah, this was brought forth, I believe, back in August. Council Billings and a couple of other councils have talked about looking at the transfer station, the different fee structure that we have, and certain proposals and things that we could do, and compare that to other communities around the state. One of the ones that Deb was interested in was the pay-as-you-throw program. We've tried to institute that a couple of different times since I've been here, which is where citizens pay either by a sticker or a colored bag to be able to set a fee of $2 or $1 per bag, whatever it may be, to cover our costs in running the MSW program. Some places they work really well, that pay-as-you-throw. Some are not very popular depending on where they're at. Out of the 436 communities, there's 142 across the state that do use that pay-as-you-throw. The upside to the pay-as-you-throw system, in just a little bit of a summary, is that if you do it right, it will pay for the cost of your program. In hopes that if it pays for your program, that it will take off the operational costs off the budget on an annual basis, hoping to lower taxes to the people. The things that are popular with it is that a lot of places that are doing it, most of them offer the service of curbside collection. So in that $2 per bag, you've got some couple of people out there that are picking them up that are either town workers that are out in trash trucks, or you've got we contract with a private hauler to pick them up different days for different sections of town, and that helps in the actual delivery of the program. It pays for those people that are picking the stuff upside the road. One of the things that is tough about it is most programs start off with a good intention of taking that off the tax rate. And if you talk to some other communities that do pay-as-you-throw, they've raised up to $150,000, $200,000 for the program. But what ends up happening is that $150,000 or $200,000 gets diverted to another budget or somewhere else in the municipal budget, so it really doesn't go away. So one of the things that makes it hard to pass is that we need to make sure that it does divert to costs, so we're getting a direct benefit to the taxpayer. When you offer a program and you say it's gonna save you $150,000 or $200,000 off your taxes by eliminating my operational budget, we need to make sure that that money goes to where it was earmarked for. And some of those are where the downfall comes in certain communities about pay-as-you-throw. There are programs out there that do it with private contractors picking up side the road, or people hiring private contractors, and the ability to drop off at transfer station if we have one. There are a few of them. One of the closest ones to us is Dixmont. They can hire bolsters or pine tree or somebody to pick it upside the road, and they're allowed to dump at the transfer station as long as they have that sticker or that colored bag. They're allowed to dump it at the transfer station, and people who use the transfer station still can bring their trash bags to the transfer station. One of the things that's a benefit for this program too is it's in hopes to boost the amount of recycling, use other avenues for reuse, keeping organics out of the waste stream stuff, some of the stuff that people tend to sneak into the MSW that is really not municipal solid waste. It's another portion of that program, in hopes of getting people to police themselves and directly benefit from them using the other programs that we have. So if I generate one bag a week, I pay $2 for a bag, then that's going to be, the general consensus is going to cost me $2 a week times 52 weeks, that's going to cost me $104 a year. Whereas in my tax bill, I may be paying, say, 3% of the municipal tax that we're getting is going towards running the transfer station at $300. And what it does is it eliminates me having to subsidize the rest of the people in the community because they decide they don't want to recycle and they want to throw everything in the trash, or they want to take their neighbor's garbage that's just over the town line, or pick up their couches and chairs and do that sort of stuff if you assess a fee to it. So the ones that are out there right now, the pay-as-you-throw, they don't like them or they like them. There's no kind of in between on them. The city of Brewer, recently, they started in 2009, recently went from stickers to bags. They're doing curbside collection. A lot of people like that service of being able to set their trash out on Tuesday morning and have somebody drive by and pick it up, and it's included in that cost per bag. But again, people are reluctant to change. And when you start assessing fees, and then you get the same old question, well, okay, how much money are you making off this program, and why is it still costing me $600,000 combined for the recycling and transfer station budget? So you got to be very careful how you set it up. Some of the more successful programs, I know Portland, Troy Loon offers a program down in Portland. Their system is set up on an enterprise account. So what they make helps with capital replacements of equipment, keeping the facility running, as well as picking up people's trash and recycling side the road. And it's a pretty good symbiotic system. But that was one of those areas that we looked at exploring. I'll tell you, it's not very popular. The last time that we tried to do it in my study, we've done it twice. Once when Mathies Van Dam was the head of the program, and again when I was head of the program. And people are very, very reluctant to pay that $2 fee. A lot of people have just been concerns about elderly people being able to afford to get rid of the trash. And I think it's probably one of the most fairest things that you can do. It's just like a power bill, a water bill. You're going to pay for what you use. It makes sense. The whole theory in the program is, hey, listen, if you've got plenty of money and you want to throw 35 bags a week away at $2 a piece, that's your choice. But again, it's training people to get accustomed to the program. So that pay-as-you-throw is a good program, but it's also one of the toughest ones to institute. I know the last time that we did this, I think it was in 2001, just before Catherine got here, we had a huge public hearing on it, and this place was packed. They came in with the pitchforks and the torches, and they were going to get rid of us all, and why are you assessing fees? Why fix something that isn't broken? And the ones that use my facility enjoy using my facility, and I'll be honest, you can ask Matt, there are people that Mike Bolster provides the best service, and they love them, and they wouldn't have it any other way. So there's no in between. They either love bringing the trash or they love dealing with their private contractor. And with this, again, we're looking at long-term longevity for the facility. Is this, if we allow it, people bringing it to us. Some places don't allow commercial haulers to bring in anybody that decides to contract with them. They decide they're not going to pay for the bags. So they'll pay an extra fee for Mike Bolster, Pine Tree, or one of the other collection Sullivans to pick it upside the road because they like that service. And that makes it tough for us to be able to track it. So if we mandated that if we did the paper bag, had Mike Bolster as the one that was picking up the stuff, they would have to police it. And then they would be bringing the waste back to the facility, again compacted, which is really damaging the compactors and the equipment that we've got now. So rather than replacing a compactor every 20 to 25 years where people are throwing single bags in, we're gonna have to look at replacing our infrastructure every 10 or 12 or 15 years based on the usage that we're using them compactors, well, already compacted waste.
So it's hard on the compactor to have a.
If you get something
already-
pre-compacted, it is very, very, very tough on that machine. It doesn't hurt it as much. Again, each machine I figure out is made for so many cycles and it's throughout its lifetime. And one of the things that I really harp on my guys about is if somebody throws 2 bags of trash in that compactor and they run it, and then somebody else comes in and throws 2 bags of trash bags in and run it, every time you run that machine, it's taking out some of the life away from that machine. It's gonna have to be replaced. If you take compacted trash from outside contractors, it's very tough on those machines. We've had the rams bust through the side of the machine. It's $3,000-4,000 fix to get plate steel, get it welded back up. We've had cylinders that blow in the main cylinders, and when you got an 8-inch hydraulic ram pushing, and it's made to push only so much pressure, it's rough. Machines weren't made. The machines were made to compact loose trash, not we just like throwing big boulders in there and trying to squash them through a little hole. It doesn't work very well.
So normally that doesn't go there, like.
We've actually in the past year or so, I think, Matt, we've actually made it a little bit more lucrative for them to take it to the landfill if they're picking it up in their trash compactors, that we're charging them half of what the tipping fee would normally be. And we were assessing a little bit more of a fee when they were bringing it to the transfer station. So it makes sense that if they can fiscally do it by avoiding me and taking it to the landfill, it's just saving life on my machines down there. So we've kind of made it, I guess we could, a financial benefit for them to take it direct versus us accepting the material at the facility. That was the first option. Like I said, that's an option that we can look at. Again, we would have to look at the pay-as-you-throw. You're going to have to look at vendors. Obviously, the town office is open from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and closed on holidays. You'd have to go out in the community and find businesses that would be willing to sell the bags or the stickers or whatever we're going to do when we start the program. So a lot of people will have the opportunity to be able to purchase those bags or those stickers. In case they
And are there different size bags or no? They're all the same?
Most of them, if you look at my study, most of them are based on a 33-gallon regular kitchen bag.
Donnie, is there any other option besides plastic bags and keeping plastic out of the landfill?
That's one of those things that you'll see coming up here in 3 months. We put a ban on the state for plastic bags and for styrofoam. So we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, plastic bags, I don't think, same thing. If you're looking at getting best bang for your buck, trying to use a paper bag of that same quality probably wouldn't work. And again, we don't want to be the leader in saying, hey, we use plastic. It's the same way with the straws and everything else that's going on. But that's basically what it is. Using those plastic bags, 33-gallon. Most places put a weight limit on it. I think it's like 40 pounds. Some do 35 to 40 pounds. You send out a list of things that are acceptable that can go in those trash bags, and that's the way we.
Would they be clear, Donnie?
Most of them aren't, believe it or not. Most of them are colored. I know Brewers are blue, and some have orange ones, some have a bright green one, so they can be easily identified when they're getting to their end spot to be dumped off, whether it be at the transfer station or a landfill.
It can be hard to police what is actually in the bag. If you're saying
is.
there's certain things you can take, certain things you can't.
And again, this is all based on education. You got people, we had the University of Maine that did a study for us back about 5 or 6 years ago. They came in and took a day that they went through our trash, and I think there was 17 other communities to come up with a comprehensive study of what was getting thrown away in the trash. And I think they said like 39.5% of our trash was food. And I had a hard time believing it. I said, geez, I can't believe people throw out that much food. And they said, well, organics total was 50 or 60%. Well, I can't believe that 60% of it, maybe 25, but that just seems like a whole. If you're taking a 45-pound trash bag and say 25 pounds in that trash bag is food, then obviously we got a lot of people who get a lot of money and waste a lot of money by throwing it in the garbage. But there is definitely organics, and again, you still have to police it. None of this stuff is going to be perfect. You still have to have the ability to police whatever we're doing for a program. The hopes is that if we do the paper bag, that people are going to be more conscious about what they throw away. they're gonna think a little bit before they dump a bunch of organic material. Right now, the corn husks in their trash, they're gonna take them out back and hopefully put them in a compost pile or take them to Tom Roberts with their other organics out there at the organic farm with their leaves and their grass clippings. But again, that's an education portion of it. It's a good system, like I said, it's probably the fairest system out there. That way I'm not subsidizing. And you hear this a lot when you talk about the school budget, and 66% of our tax rate goes to put the kids through school. Somebody like me pays the same rate, whether I have any kids that go to school or not. Somebody else might have 6 kids that are going through school. But again, this is one way we can do it. We can use it as a utility, this pay as you throw, and say, listen, if we want to reduce the amount of stuff that we're disposing of, we want to boost our recycling rate, boost our composting, this is a good way to start. But again, implementing the program is probably the hardest. They have, if you get on the Department of Labor's website, they have a couple of things there that they talk about, where they've done a study, comprehensive study with their trash and what they're getting rid of, because one of the things that they used to do is all of the rest areas. How much trash is the rest areas in the state of Maine, and how much of that waste is coming from New Hampshire and Massachusetts? A study on what's going on there. A lot of stuff gets thrown away. I'll be honest with you, you come to the transfer station a day, I bet people throw $100 worth of returnable bottles in the trash. I mean, you pay a 5-cent deposit up front and they're throwing them in the garbage because they don't want to deal with them. Again, it's a lot of laziness and being able to be able to train the people that if you want to throw it away, that's fine, but it's going to cost you.
So you were saying about how some citizens could choose to hire a company like Bolsters or one of those companies to, if we did the pay as you throw, would there, how does that work for citizens if they hire a company like that? If they don't want to bag it, can they still,
They can hire them, they would pay the full cost to landfill to you. That would be up to Bolster to set a fee per week to their customers saying that, okay, listen, anything more than 5 bags of trash a week, instead of being $7 a week, we're going to charge you $12.
Yep.
And that's their right. I mean, they have the right to be able to.
So people could do that instead of doing pay.
But they wouldn't benefit any. They would be obviously paying more because they don't want to be bothered by recycling or whatever. But we're not going to be paying the cost.
How would it work for businesses?
Well,
obviously I'm not going to bag
a lot of these pay as you throw, this is one of the things that I've been talking about for a long time. And whether it's been heard or whether it's not, if I am a trash hauler and I pick up a town, Pittsfield, and I go to Canaan and pick up 1 bag in another town, that's illegal. If they bring it back over here and dump the trash truck off and I catch them, it's illegal dumping. It's also under the solid waste regulations, under, I believe it's the 400 waste regulations. It says that if I'm picking up trash and I'm a commercial hauler, whoever it may be, I'm not supposed to pick up business trash or commercial or industrial trash with residential trash. And that puts a hardship on some of the commercial haulers. We've got 2 or 3 guys that go to Route, they pick up Rennie's trash, let's say, and then they go pick up 4 or 5 more residential customers, and then they may go down to Chimbro and pick up a dumpster, and they go here.
So that would be
by that regulation, it's tough, but most of these pay-as-you-throw programs, you'll notice, I think every one of them, I'm pretty sure that every one of them have to contract with a private hauler. They're not considered part of the residential municipal solid waste because they are a commercial generator. So most of these businesses like Brewer pay for dumpsters from a commercial haul or whatever their rate is, and they pick them up on a certain route once or twice a week and dump them at the landfill or up the curb. So they're really not included in this pay as you throw. They're a commercial generator, so they would have to deal with their own trash on their own. They're not allowed to bring it to the transfer station. They're allowed to contract it out, and the contractor will take it too. And how do they do that? Does the town of Detroit, Matt, when you guys contracted with them, does the town pay for those dumpsters, or do you pay for them?
They pay for the dumpsters, the businesses too. So like they pay for the tonnage of them.
They pay for the tonnage, but the business pays.
But the business pays me for the rental of the
pays
can.
the rental. Okay. So yeah, some places I've heard of that we pay for the generation of the tonnage. But again, which makes no sense, because then you're allowing a commercial business who is probably generating 5 times the amount of tonnage at their business, and we're still picking up the bill. So it's one of those catch-22. So most of the programs on the premise are basically the businesses in commercial and industry fend for themselves.
The town of Troy, we're contracted to tell the town of Troy, which is a sticker town, so they have to buy stickers and put on the bags. So we pick up them curbside, but we have a separate truck to pick up like the personal, like our own customers. So like we have customers in Troy that have their own dumpster or have us pick up their trash, so they don't have to pay for the stickers. And then we have another truck that does like to keep it separated so that the people that pay for their program, and then the people that hire me personally have their own truck. So we'd have to do the same thing if we was to do that in Pittsfield. I mean that's my problem, not town's problem.
And then
I think that makes the most sense, you know, because you would be trying to tell, you know, one truck you'd be telling the guys to only pick up the bags that have stickers on them, and then the next truck you'd be telling the guys to grab everything they normally grab.
Right. Yeah, and most of them, like I said, most communities do, the commercial, industrial people, what businesses that fend for themselves, they can hire somebody and they take care of their waste. And it's one of those things that they need to be thinking about businesses. This is the price of operation. What comes in my door, what I'm doing here, and what goes out my back door, whether it's product or refuse, is part of the operating cost of that facility. And we had talked about this years and years ago. I don't think you were on the council until we talked about how when it used to be Edwards down here, they used to pay Bolster to pick up 2 ton a day of industrial process waste and dump it at the transfer station. Well, every taxpayer was subsidizing them to be able to bring it there and get rid of industrial waste, which by rights we shouldn't be accepting anyway. But it's one of those things, it's tough to swallow because basically everybody pays a certain percentage in their tax rate to run my facility, depending on what my budget is. And then you've got people that tend to abuse it, and that's why we try to patrol that sticker thing to make sure we ain't got out-of-town trash coming in, because it's quite an expense. Yeah. If we even had 20 people that were coming from Burnham or 25 from Detroit on a weekly or a bi-weekly, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars a year in tipping fees that we're paying for another community. And it's one of those things, like I said, it's tough. Well, I don't want to buy that cheap bag for $2. It's a 33-gallon bag. I use a 55-gallon drum. Can I use a 55-gallon bag and put a sticker on it and throw it at the transfer station? Well, you can get twice the weight in a 55-gallon bag versus a 33. So, it's one of those things that we've talked about it before, and everybody's usually worried about the people that are on fixed incomes or the poor people. They can't afford it. Or it's just too much. We can't afford to do it. Well, the ones that usually are the most resistive to this type of change are the ones that come down and there's 2 people in a household, but I see them 3 times a week with a pickup truck loaded with trash. Going, how does somebody generate that much garbage? It's not the elderly people, Milton Kirk, who comes down with a little tiny Bud's bag twice a week. Them are not the big generators. The big generators are the ones that just don't want to do it. They'll throw everything.
I can see where Howie's coming from too. You know, kind of a bummer to think that everything that they throw away is gonna be in a. I mean, everything's gonna be in a plastic bag now. I mean, and obviously most things are in a plastic bag, but now for sure everything's gonna be.
As a reminder, this is just for your MSW. This is for your municipal solid waste.
Yeah.
This is not for like your couches, chairs, your brush, and your leaves and grass, which we already do the composting with Tom Roberts. So we would still have to have the availability, and most of these pay-as-you-throw they have the collection weeks, where they say put your couches and chairs side the road, and usually municipal employees from the solid waste department pick it up and take it to the facility, so they actually can see what they're doing and what they're picking up and how much is coming in and what's being generated. Is it being generated from the right people and not somebody else? You know, we talked about this a long time ago too, I know numerous people that work in the town of Pittsfield that live out of town, and because they have a paper bag system, they bring it, throw it into the business's dumpster. I watch it every other day, very close to me. The guy lives out of town, he works at a place in town, and I watch him unload his pickup truck with trash bags into a dumpster, into the business's dumpster that he works for. So, or the town receptacles at the park, down at Manson Park, or over here across the street. So because they have a pay per bag system. Again, I think it's one of those things that's people are very resistant to change. And the way I always look at it, if you hit somebody in the pocketbook, you want to save money, well, if you do one bag a week, it's going to cost you less if you do it that way than it is to have it in your tax rate.
So you said that a lot of the towns that have the pay as you throw programs have town staff that go around and pick up the bags on a certain day of the week in certain neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So how does that impact the budget if you're adding that extra staff time? You have to have a truck to do it. You're taking people off the transfer station in order to do that.
And that's one of the things that we talked about. It's one of those things you got to be careful on historically how we manage our waste. And basically most of these people, it's the same way. They can even, it's got to be figured out in that cost per bag. There's a formula that you can look at. The EPA, you get on the EPA.gov, and they've got actually a huge, it's like 12 pages long of how to calculate, how to come up with the cost of having somebody pick up curbside, to be able to generate that revenue, to be able to pay for that, pay for your waste, to pay for the gas, pay for the people. Obviously, we don't have any sanitation employees now, and it would be kind of crazy for us to go out and think that we could buy 2 trash trucks or 3 trash trucks and hire more employees to go out and pick up trash. It's probably not going to happen. Most of these public works department, Bangor, Brewer, some of the bigger ones already had people in their sanitation department that were able to pick it up. The only option we would have would be to set it side the road and get bids from local trash haulers of how much is it going to cost to pick up the town of Pittsfield if we divide it into 4 districts, the 4 voting districts. Each day, how much would it cost for you to pick it up and transport it to the landfill? Again, the landfill wouldn't accept it if we put an exemption on it. The guy on the hill said, if you don't see all purple bags, I need to know. If you see other trash bags in there, you need to know. So that they would be part of the policing process to do that. But again, whoever the commercial hauler that we hired would be the same thing. You don't pick up nothing but that purple bag. If there's anything else outside of those purple bags, and we catch you doing it, they can lose their contract.
So the other question I had was, you had some numbers in here dividing the amount of trash estimated and stuff. Yeah. So $2 a bag, it's only 27.5 bags a year that someone, if it's a 40-pound bag, out of the 1,100, you said 1,100 pounds of garbage.
But that's on average.
Right, on average, per person, but really you're looking at like a household, not really per person.
That's right.
So that kind of skews the numbers as well.
Right, and that's, right, it's we figure out per person, and that's based on what I use for that number for calculation.
Well, if it were $2, it'd be $55 per person then, per year. But that'd be like $220,000. If you did it out just at 4,000 people.
Yeah.
Where does that fit in? Where does that number fit in your budget now? And what other costs for the transfer station and the recycling center wouldn't be covered by that we would still be having captured within the budget through taxation?
Well, right now, roughly, we're our contractual part of it, all of our, to get rid of our waste for our tipping fees. The last time I checked, it was right around $160,000, and that's for the demo, MSW. So it would be generating enough money to be able to get rid of that contractual line that we're dealing with. It also, it's going to do away with some of the ability for us to have to worry about policing and everything else. So that 220 is going to take care of, out of my entire budget, I think it's like a little over, just about a third. So it's if you think about that contractual part, it should take care of whatever is generated for the solid waste. It also, at some point, you got to think about, we got to think about, and this is where it begins the toughest too, is we have to, if you're not making money, if you're making above the contractual, we need to put things away for infrastructure improvement, capital. Because as we're receiving more trash, and there's going to be a lifetime we're going to replace compactors. You got guys that we're having to pay, so you got to figure in the payroll in part of it too. So it's about a third. Yeah, I would say that would be
So you talked a little bit too about the organics. We've talked about before about the amount of that, as well as the amount of other trash that's going in there. Is there anything that the town can do more as far as either through the recycling committee or town programs to kind of educate people about this a little bit more before we were to institute something like this? You know, either to have maybe presentations or classes people could go to about ways and order. There's a lot of interest out there and like zero waste lifestyle and low waste lifestyle, having things recycling, composting. There's an entire fair that 60,000 people go to, and all of the trash is composted. Everything that's there is going to get composted, whether it's food waste or, you know, paper waste or anything like that. And so there's resources around us that could be used in order to help residents find ways to kind of mitigate those costs before we went to some. I think this is, I don't like this at all.
Well, and if you see, I give a bunch of options there if you looked. And it's not my favorite option either. I think, like I said, fiscally, and thinking about it from a fiscal standpoint, it makes perfect sense. But again, there are people that abuse their ability and they decide they want to be wasteful, and sometimes education and stuff's not going to do that. They're still going to continue to be wasteful. That's what I pay for my taxes. And why are you assessing fees? I'm already paying for that, and if my taxes have to go up a few dollars a year to keep that, that's what I want. Well, it's not the right thing to do either. And we have talked about the last recycling committee, we talked about doing composting, and we're looking at getting a container for the facility. But one of the biggest things that we're going to have to deal with is Tom Roberts does very well. People are taking their leaves and their grass clippings. The biggest thing was dealing with the food. Well, we're having a little issue with rats, and I'm starting to get them taken care of at the facility. But if you have food or a way to have food there, again, you've got a food source, so now you have to worry about flies, and you have to worry about rats, you have to worry about other wildlife dealing with it. But we've talked about they're giving out EDP grants based on doing things for composting and starting composting, but they're willing to give you $25,000 towards the cost. I can't remember what I told Timmy. I figured it out. If we were going to do composting, we'd have to have another employee minimum. You'd have to have a trommel screen. We'd have to have a loader that's not Steve's loader, because if he's using it, I can't be using it. We have to return the material. I think initial startup was like $388,000. And it would take us like 38 years or 37 point whatever it was years for us to realize a savings. But we can jump on with Skowhegan. So to find a container that's lined and a place to be able to put this, that if people want to compost some of their food, again, education works. But there are some areas at the facility and then other options that I give you where there are other options. A lot of people have been saying, well, and they've said it before in a pay-as-you-throw, listen, if it's not broken, why are we trying to fix it? And I said, well, there are still some things. First thing is we have a mandatory recycling ordinance. And I will tell you, when it first came out, we started the enforcement part of that, and everybody started crying and screaming, and the councilors turned their backs and walked away and didn't want to deal with it. Oh, be a little bit easy on them. We can't throw them out. They have to get rid of their trash. It's a little bit better policing and having some backing behind the people that are doing the enforcement. And I'm not saying that there are people that, some stuff's gonna slip by, but when you got people that will take handfuls of stuff and throw it in the dumpster in front of you, or they'll leave out their cardboard in the rain just so they know it's all slimy and nobody's gonna wanna handle it, it's not a way to deal with having to save out the cardboard. You saved it out, and then you pile it up on your lawn and let somebody let it get rained on. And then you're gonna bring it into me, because you know now you're gonna be able to throw that in the trash. Well, you went through the bother of just saving it out, and then you're leaving it out on your lawn to throw it in the garbage. It doesn't make much sense. So enforcement, yes, the enforcement part, but we also need, the guys need the backing from the council and the people here, that when we start enforcing that. I think there's an opportunity to recover more metals. I've talked about that in the past. I think a lot of our weight are little pieces of metal, little screws, and that people dump in their trash bags. I see a lot of little pieces of tin and metal that go into a dumpster. And it makes it tough too when you're talking about policing. We can't be in the building with doing recycling and being out and enforcing. You can ask Matt that. Matt could pick a good day when we're really busy, and he could come up there with his own pickup and dump whatever he wanted to in the dumpster, and he could take off, because having somebody there It just isn't gonna happen. We gotta get the product out, we got a lot of recycling coming in, we're trying to get that stuff, so again, it makes it tough. Like, education we need to do. We need to go to businesses need to be better about what they're tossing away. And we have a lot of businesses that do a lot of recycling. I'm proud of some of the businesses, they do a lot, they bring in a lot of material to us. But in order, the biggest area where I see, I give you the option too about having fees on everything. I went over to Newport and see that they had a set of scales which cost them a substantial amount of money and weigh things per pound and charge people per pound to bring it into the facility. Again, just slowing up the process. You did that on Tuesday morning, I'd have people lined up all the way to the cemetery waiting to get in there and dump their trash. I probably wouldn't be their favorite person when they come through the gate. And putting a fee on everything. And that to me, again, I don't think is necessarily that option too, but I will tell you, there's no way when I go up there on a Saturday afternoon that I start with an empty 50-yard container and by noontime there's 50 yards of furniture and mattresses and couches. There ain't that many in Pittsfield. And either people that are in Pittsfield that have their dump stickers are bringing them from somewhere else, or I've never seen anybody bring in 32 mattresses at once. I know that they haven't bought that many. There's not that many people in the household. One way to be able to curb our demo is way higher than it should be. It's double the state average for a town our size. That's at bulky waste. That's the furniture, because we have no fee on it. Whether you put a per mattress fee or per, I mean, I've never seen anything when it comes to televisions. I bet we've started this, I think I looked the other day, we've been doing recycling televisions way before the Universal Waste Recycling Program was started. We were the leader in that. And I looked the other day, as of 2018, I think we recycled something like 3,950 tons of televisions, another 2,000 tons of electronics. That's enough to have, for everybody in town should have 55 TVs when you divide out the weight. Now I know there ain't 55, none of us can afford 50 TVs in the last 10 years. I think it's because there's fees in other places. I think we need to do something. And then I put that option 3. Which is, that was the last option. I thought that might be the better option. That we can start slow, do a fee on couches and chairs and mattresses. Refrigerators and air conditioners, people have been bringing them free. It costs us $10 to have the freon evacuated out of them before we can recycle them as a metal. Everybody else is doing it. Let's put a fee on that, so we're no different than Newport than we are anybody else. So them towns aren't so apt to come over here and dump it out. They're gonna pay for it. One-time fee, annual fee, every year you get a new dump sticker, $20. If you want to use the facility, for the people who don't, that's fine. If people don't want to use the facility, they want to call Matt Bolster, or Mike Bolster, or Sullivan, they have the right to do that, but they pay their taxes to use the facility. If they choose not to, then we shouldn't be subsidizing them to pay the money, because again, they're doing businesses and they're doing residential. It's hard for me to split it up, it's hard for Matt to split it up. But if Matt knows at the start of the day what it's going to cost, he can better assess on his end what he needs to charge per customer or per dumpster, so we're not leaving them out. And they've been a big help too. They help us police stuff. They've been bringing in split cans. A lot of them Rennies, a lot of them recycle half of it, the other half is trash. We've been charging them $5 a fee per can. Generates between $500 and $520 a month we've been billing Bolsters. Time to double that. For the ones that are recycling, they're doing it. If they're not recycling, then we assess them a more fee. There's people that just want to dump trash. It's not feasible for him to take his small trucks all the way over to Norwich lot. We want to encourage recycling. His company, a lot of other companies are encouraging people to do that, and they can be part of that educational process to help us out. But I think if we try to change everything too fast, we're going to have a problem. I think there's going to be a witch hunt. There are things that we can do. The recycling committee met the first of this month, talked about we're getting some quotes on containers that we buy, try to get some more of the organics out to deal with that a little bit better. Again, if you look at upping that fee for option 3, what we can save for the demo. That demo is huge. And I'll tell you why. I don't think it's right, and I'm a taxpayer of this community myself, if somebody's going to tear down a garage that I should be paying to have them tear down their garage and bring it, and they're able to dispose of that material for free. I thought this was gonna be very unpopular. I started helping Canaan run their recycling program, 8 years now ago, and that's how we deal with it. We don't pay for demo. You wanna generate demo, you wanna tear down a house, you can call Matt. Matt will give you whatever it costs for the tipping fee. They can get our tipping fee. And then he can give them a price per dumpster, and we'll be done with it. The homeowner should be responsible for that. Why should I be paying for all the shingles that come off your old roof? I just don't think it's right.
Well,
And some people, they'll abuse it.
I'd be in favor of seeing a proposed fee schedule come through, because I think that is the most reasonable way to get started with that. But I do have a question about if you do have fees for things like either the demo or the bulky waste or the tires or whatever would be coming through, do you have the capability to be accepting those payments at the transfer stations?
We
Like
never
they're gonna
have,
be
no.
handling
And that's
cash
the other,
and stuff, and
and
they're gonna
that's,
have a designated person there to do that, security wise.
and if you notice
Somebody
that.
has to be there.
I knew you was gonna ask me that question.
The
but
cash
I
flow.
just knew you were going to. You noticed that I put in there, and that was the reason that I put in there for, with some of those fees, that we could hire a part-time person, so that other part-time person could be responsible to go out and do stuff, so somebody could be sitting there if we were gonna have a fee system or something, that we had the ability to be able to do that. I think it makes it difficult if you're gonna do those fees, and I have no problem. Right now, we don't have much, so they come into the town office, they come down to us. It's pretty simple. But if you're gonna start looking, and this year is, like I said, it's a preliminary thing. I'm at the will of the council. I mean, we can do some of this. I could do a proposal where I think that it's fair, and starting off slow and saying, okay, this is where we need to go. But I know that Council Billings wanted a bunch of options there to find out where best you guys thought we should be going. I don't think that a lot of people are afraid of fee systems, because people are afraid they're gonna throw all this stuff in the woods or in these abandoned properties and off the roads. All these other communities have fees.
Well, that's already happening.
Yeah,
People are
and-
already dumping off,
Yeah,
off in the woods.
and you're still gonna have
little
those
lane
people
here and
that
there.
are gonna do it no matter what you do. Listen, I find stuff at my gate when I get there in the morning. We have a transfer station with really no fees. And you still get people that are gonna dump stuff off side of the road. It's just, it happens.
So can you do what you think a fee schedule should be? You have some of them in here.
Yeah, because there's so many options here. Like I said, I want to give a lot of options and different ideas, but we obviously we're not in the business that we want to charge people and make money, but we also got to be able to deal with the amount of solid waste. Solid waste, again, is huge. People are going to throw more. Better policing, better education is definitely a 1-2 punch, but you also got to do something. We were in line with, like, Newport and a few other facilities in the areas. We're closed on Sundays and Mondays. That's why I proposed us being closed on Sundays and Mondays. So we didn't have, if they were closed on Sunday and Monday, they didn't have the guy from Newport, because they will drive all the way over here to get rid of a bag of trash, because it's an inconvenience in the back of their pickup.
You had talked before about scales and just having people pay by pound.
Right.
Remind me again what the cost of scales would be.
In the past, they've been anywhere from $58,000 for a small set, all the way up to $130,000 for a huge set that we can put bigger trucks on, and then you got to worry about the maintenance, and then you got to worry about them freezing up in the wintertime. We'd have to put some. I would mandate that we put something over the top of them, right, Matt? Have you been places where they can't weigh their trucks because they're outside scales and water runs into them and they freeze? It's one of those things that, again, if we're gonna put in a set of scales, the scales that we should put in there, we're gonna have to do some infrastructure improvement. There's no doubt about it.
So can you look at that too, as far as
Yeah.
cost effectiveness of doing that versus the bags? Because that would have the same effect as the pay per bag.
Right.
You'd be paying for what you bring, and then it would cover the demo as well, because you'd be weighing that truck, and the bulky waste and all the other things would be encapsulated, everything would just be per pound.
Right.
And it would kind of simplify things, as well as still encourage people to reduce the amount of waste that they're bringing, encourage them to, you know, have their organics separate, and that's a free bin to put their organics in before they get weighed.
Correct.
Because it wouldn't be included in that waste disposal, correct?
Right. And that's one of the
It'd be
things where I
interesting
say,
to see how that would work.
that's
'cause
where
it
we
would-
have to improve the infrastructure. The Central Maine Solid Waste and Recycling down in Rockport, that when you drive up, that's the first thing they do, is they have offer a spot for you to get rid of your recycling, your organics, and then you get on the scales, and then you get weighed, then you go in and dispose of your stuff. But again,
You get weighed out.
yeah, then you get weighed back out and come out. But the problem is we've kind of set our footprint up there, and we didn't have any foresight for the next 30 years when we developed that place. And I don't know if anybody's used the facility, but if you get more than 3 or 4 vehicles in there at a time, it's a pain in the neck. It bottlenecks, people are trying to back up, people are flying by to try to use the wood pile, and it's real problematic. I think that if we added a scale and trying to add up, again, we'd have to, I think probably the road would be wide enough, but again, to get a set of scales, you'd have to have a shack down there. We'd have to run power, because you couldn't have them come up and weigh where we're at now, because right now, if we had 2 vehicles there, it bottlenecks. So then you're gonna have people screeching and hollering, they're gonna be lined up down the road, and then having it wide enough for a set of scales. But there's some, like I said, there's some, I can do a proposal to have it.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I mean, when we lived in New York, we had a scale system, and it was a flat, I think it was $92 a ton, and that was
Right.
over 10 years ago.
That was for
But
everything, right?
You came in, and the scales were up high, and you just got a wave from the attendant when they were ready, and then you came down below. You had to back in, because all of their compactors were undercover. It was in a big building. You backed in, you dumped everything, you came back out, you went looped around again, got weighed again, and then you came back. You had to go around twice, and then you
Right.
came back down and you paid.
Right.
And it was pretty quick. I mean, yeah, you had to wait in line a little bit, you know, but I mean, they're quick on the scales once they got going and stuff, and it made it fair. I mean, you're only
is fair.
paying to throw away what you had to throw away, and it really, you know, as a farm, we had bale wrap, which weighs 80 pounds a roll, so it's heavy stuff. You buy it once, and then you had to buy it again when you threw it away. And the university had a wrap program. It was recycled added plastics program, so we could pull that out of our dumpster, our waste, and we could save that aside, and they would come and bale it on the farm. But there wasn't anything like that here. But I mean, that's the position we're in as a business. I mean, we're buying it twice, and then that's back where we would be again, is we'd be paying to dispose.
Yeah, and that's why I really don't want to assess a fee, because the state has a main disposal fee on tires and refrigerators, and when you buy your furniture, your couches and chairs. But the problem with it is it was supposed to be earmarked to help out municipalities with the disposal costs. Well, you know, when you see the Alphon cleanup site up in the Old Town and those places with millions of dollars, they take that money for DEP is used for Superfund cleanups and not going back to the communities. That's one of the things I want to reiterate, is one of those things that we don't want to make it a money-making thing, because once you start using it for that and we generate revenue, I talked with a young man from Brewer, and it was unreal. He said that you generate that revenue and people watch that and say, okay, well, that money didn't offset the cost of the operating costs. Well, Steve over here increased his budget by $250,000 because he saw that I made $250,000, but you're not going to see an increase in your taxes. It's just now I'm going to be subsidizing other departments within the town that keep raising costs. It's people are watchdogs on that stuff, and I'm not like I said, I'm not a big fee man. I prided ourselves. How many times have I been in front of this council? But we prided ourselves. We didn't have to have fees. People were doing good, and we don't have to do that. We're saving money, and we're not spending what we should be for money. We're saving, but there is a time. We got to do something. Like I said, I know that the couches and chairs and that stuff, I know some of it's coming from the communities. There's no doubt in my mind. And I do know that I'm sure somebody's picking up their buddy's trash when they're over somewhere else, when they're a paper bag. I've seen them dump in dumpsters. It's one of those things, it's the toughest thing to deal with. As long as there's people, there's gonna be garbage. Just kind of like the water sewer, as long as there's people around, they don't wanna drink water, they're gonna have a place for their sewer to go, so. But I will look into that. One of the things I think we did that before with the scale system, when Van Dam was here, is because of our footprint. We're kind of locked in where we're at. We can't expand nothing. We can't.
Can you go out towards the road? Like widen that out towards the road?
Because we're on the landfill.
Well, I know, but it wouldn't be going that way. It would be going towards towards Peltoma. Like
That is landfill. That's
Oh,
all. It's all landfill. All the way around this is landfill.
Yeah.
And that's why I said we're one of very few in the state of Maine that are allowed to operate a transfer station on an old landfill. We're kind of, I always say that, I said something about building a lean-to to put materials outside, my baled material to save space in the building. Denied. That was to the DEP for an expansion on a permit of my footprint. Why? You don't have a big enough footprint. I need a place to stage my big trash cans. I want to put them here, you can't do it. You're constrained by the footprint, you can't put them there, so you can't have more than 4. Well, what happens if I want to buy a 5th dumpster because I need it? Well, I'm going to have to park it somewhere else. You've seen it before, parking across the street over by the reuse center. That's the point. Ask Matt, he brings us in cardboard containers. I only have so many on site because I'm constrained. I can't have anything anywhere else but that area. It's mandated by our license. We really need to look at the infrastructure. It's kind of like, you look at Newport in the Triangle area. They built that over there, and that was well and great until they built all the businesses around there. Now the traffic over there doesn't work. It's bottlenecked. They didn't think about what we're doing, but I can look into that. I think that's, and again, paying per bag and paying per pound is I think is the most fiscally responsible. Maybe people will be a little bit more conscientious about what they're doing.
I'd just like to say a couple things. When it comes to the subject, I'm kind of like careful what I say because I own a trash company, so I don't want to be construed that I'm trying to make my business better by using the town. But my suggestion would be, I mean, I've go in all kinds of different transfer stations, and they have scales, and I do believe that's it's like the pay per throw. It's the fairest way to do it. But if we have to put $50,000, $60,000 to $100,000 in scales, and then the maintenance on scales is it's atrocious. It's just crazy. And then whenever they need to be calibrated, they have to be calibrated, I don't know, once a year or so many months, and the snow removal is a hard thing with it, and that makes it a very big expense. So like we're going away from what we want to do is to try to save money and try to save the taxpayers. My suggestion would be to start small with the bulky waste and the demo. What other towns have done to get around with, instead of having you guys have to deal with like handling the money, is they go to the town office, they purchase a ticket or a voucher. They give to you a voucher. Okay, I paid for a pickup load of bulky waste, or I paid for a mattress, or I paid for a tire. They give it to you. You say, okay, I got your voucher. They dump off their stuff. That's how other towns that I've done handle it, and it would be a small way of doing it. But I'd also like to remind counselors, not very long ago, we had a pool that was free, and we increased it to $10 per summer, and we had this whole place full of people. Now, only a small percentage of people use the pool compared to how many people use the transfer station and throw things away. Everybody throws something away in this town. So can you imagine how many people that may turn out when that all happens? So, I mean, it doesn't matter to me as far as my business or whatever. That's my own problem. But the way I see it is, to make it more fair, I would charge like a small fee on the bulky waste to be competitive with other towns. Nothing like huge, but just enough so it's not just a free thing where people can just bring in a pickup load every weekend and just kind of throw whatever they want away, type deal. Maybe see what the public says about that, I guess.
And I think in that option, that I showed you option 3, you could do away with that. I mean, you think about it, no demo debris as far as people tearing stuff and doing their shingles. That will save us a lot of money, up to $30,000 a year. Let's just, I threw out $20. Let's decide that you're gonna do $40 for a dump sticker per year, and then you don't have to assess a fee. You don't have to assess a fee on the little things. That $40 allows you, if you got a couch to get rid of or a chair to get rid of, and you got 4 tires because you changed out your tires this year, and you got a mattress that you want to get rid of because you got your income tax and wanted to buy a new bed. It helps with some of it. I don't think that, again, that the fee system itself, other than doing the scales of the pay as you throw, that's the only 2 ways you're going to be able to get them to pay for everything. And again, some of those are very unpopular.
Yeah, I think you have a half decent idea. Maybe starting off with trying like there's 2 different levels of stickers. You know, one level of stickers will go down to the. But if you want to be able to put stuff into the big dumpster, then you got to have a little more expensive sticker. You know, but one of the things that I was thinking about, and Ron comes to mind because he's talking about technology a lot, is. If we were going to do something like what you said, where they're going to pay, I would say let's try not to pretend like it's 1970 and people have to come to the town office to get a paper sticker to go down there and then hand. We got to think of some like creative way to do this where it's online or something. That's better than I got to go to the town office, wait in line, go get a thing to put. I have an old toilet and 2. You got to
And I like that 2-tier system. That's a good way to do it. $50 if you want to be able to throw bulk waste, $20 if you want to just.
Yeah, and then maybe even
2 different colors.
if there's a business like me that wants to use the bulky waste every year to throw away stuff, then my ticket's a different price than a person who wants to throw away. I mean, I think that might be a good place to start, and just getting people used to paying a little bit more for this.
Because our fee system is very antiquated for our dump stickers.
Yeah.
But $1 for your first dump sticker per vehicle, and then you renew it for free every year after.
Yeah, well, it's so cheap and so it's almost kind of a joke. If it was a little more expensive, there'd be some more weight behind it. And kind of be like, hey man, you don't got your dump sticker.
And you'd see this too, is if you paid $50 to bring your bulky waste, and your buddy says, hey, listen, over Detroit, can you take my couch with us? Screw you, I paid $50 for this. It's just like your hunting license. I didn't give you my hunting license, I paid for it. You want to go hunting, you go pay for your own.
Yep.
No, I agree. And I think we can work on the other things. I think organics is a good thing to work on. Tom Roberts has been valuable. I went last Friday. I went over to Hawk Ridge to see they've got an award-winning thing over there in Unity for their different types of compost over there, and just wanted to see what they were doing and how they did their process. Wouldn't let me take many pictures. They finally let me at the end of the day take a few pictures at the end of the day of standing way back away from the facility, but where that's going, because that's huge. I mean, this Fibrite thing that everybody jumped aboard with, that's now open, is taking a few more towns. It's supposed to be making biogas from composting, and I'm going to try to get into that facility. I'm hearing that they're still bypassing 80% of the waste is still going to the landfill, so it's, I guess I got to see it myself, but I just don't believe that if you're going to make biogas, 80% of the stuff you say you're going to accept is going to go bypass and go right to the landfill anyway. What are you really taking out of the waste stream, and how much is it costing us? But I think there is room for education too. I don't think people really understand, and some people do. I watched a guy today. He must have thrown $15 worth of bottles and cans. I said, what are you doing? I said, if you don't want them, throw them out here. I said, I'll give them to my fire department to take back to the bottle redemption place. I ain't got time to deal with that. Just throw them.
The bottle can right there as you come in.
I know, right there for the Boy Scouts
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
I mean, really. I mean, you're throwing $15 worth of bottles in the trash can. It just makes no sense. But they must have more money than I do, I guess.
But if we have mandatory recycling and those are all recyclable items, then whoever the attendant was should have said, you cannot do that.
It doesn't do no good, because I've done this.
It goes over there.
Been here before, been in front of this, not this council, I've been in front of the council before, where we have explicit rules in that ordinance that says you kick people out
Well, I'm all for it then. If they're not gonna follow the rules,
And
they don't get to dump their trash.
Yeah, they have a
And
different
that's-
price on their dumpster.
And that's why I said, this is where I said you really
Why have a
need.
rule if you don't enforce it?
That's right, and that's why I said earlier in this discussion is that I gotta have some teeth behind it, or some, because I'll tell you, the numerous times that I come in front
Well,
of the
you've got
council
my teeth
before,
on
they
it.
just kinda said, well, you know, you gotta,
No.
it's just a little, and it's like, well, it's a gray area now, either you enforce it or you don't. And sometimes that's tough, depending on what day it is and what night it is, what you catch somebody on. And again, we get a lot of people that I've seen them that are new to town and stuff. You'll see them throw a few pieces of cardboard and, hey, we recycle cardboard here. You can take that in the building, that are very good about it. But there are some, and I'm not gonna name names, that they do it just because I think they can get a rise out of me, and they know what they're doing, and you turn around for 5 seconds, and that, which is supposed to be recycled, ends up in the hopper. So.
If I remember correctly, when we first initiated this paper bag thing, we had a huge mess here because what we were having is when we tried to enforce some of that, the minute you turn your back, in it goes. And if you stop people from that, there's a great big fight down there, and they've had to have the police come down a few times. Then you've got them in here complaining. And it depends, and you know, some of it too, I hate to say this, but it depends on who's doing the complaining.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll surprise you, won't it, Donnie?
It does.
And, you know, that's one of the reasons why it's the way it is right now.
We used to get dump stickers, I'll be honest with you. We used to be able to find out if they're resident of Pittsfield. We used to give dump stickers. We used to ask them for the registration. Asked one guy one day for his registration, and it was the wrong guy. And then I got down to talking to, it's illegal for me. Attorney General's office called me and said, the police officer that made the complaint, it's illegal for me to ask for registration. They don't have to provide it. And I said, all I'm doing is giving you a dump sticker verifying where your address is, that you registered your vehicle in town. I had the Attorney General's office call on me, said I was violating people's rights. I was like, are you kidding me? You don't have the authority. The only one that can ask for it's a law enforcement officer. So how do we tell if somebody's from town or not?
Where's Pete? How much is the detail on a Saturday morning to check everybody's registration?
Yeah.
You know, it is. And
I think it's difficult because that's where you get you get a lot of towns that have a dump. A lot of towns that I've heard of, they have somebody that has to be kind of mean down at the dump state, and we have very friendly dump people. I mean, they're down there helping you, but instead, I think there's a lot of towns that have people that are like right down there. They got to watch every bag. They got to, and it would take more people. We'd have to hire because, like you said, right now on a Saturday, if I go up there and toss something in on a busy day, there's not somebody standing there looking and seeing, okay, you shouldn't have done that. Okay, you're gonna, I mean.
And you notice I put in there for a part-timer, whether it be 15 hours a week, just to have them busy times, just to have somebody there to make sure somebody's standing there, and not only the enforcement part of it, but I think the education portion of it. That's how you do it. Hey, listen, you know that we have a mandatory recycling ordinance, and this is how we enforce it, and this is what could happen. You lose your right to dump your trash, and you'd have to hire Matt, and I'll tell Matt that he can charge him $50 a pickup a week or whatever. You're going to get punted about. But I would tell him that this is why we're doing it. This is what it saves, and do the education piece of this with it. But when you've got two guys that are busting their butt trying to get the recycling done, you got 15 vehicles in there. 2 people can't handle it. Again, I've complained about our footprint. We're constrained. We got a wood pile way down here. We got a metal can way over here. We got a trash can here. But there's nothing we do to change it. If we build a new one, however, someday, we'll make sure it's engineered the right way.
Probably that makes the most sense is to think about where the new transfer station is going to be someday, and it's think about what we want it to look like, because we can't make a new transfer station there. Obviously, that's right. There's no way we can do anything different there.
Not for what we're doing, no.
The fees, like Matt said, if you went to the town office, the only problem I see with that is the fact, cost like they're busy as it is. But the other thing is the bulk of your stuff's going to come down on a Saturday. Yeah. That's when people can dump it because they're working all week long. They don't have time, and that's when you'd have to have some kind of a structure fee. You'd have to have it. That's just no
they can pay
an online thing.
Hunt license. You get on there and they can use their credit card or debit card online, and they can have something print off and say right there, paid money.
For the people that are savvy online, that would be good.
Yeah.
Is there a way that somebody could, and I don't know if this even exists, You can have like gift cards. You have a gift card type system where you buy your card at the town office. When you register your vehicle, or you buy your card, and then it gets swiped every time you go to the dump. You know, you've got 4 bags, swipe you for 4 bags, and then they deplete that, and then they have to go and recharge it in order to do that. And that way, anybody coming in, whether they live in town or not, they have to have that card.
And they already paid for it.
You know, they've already paid for it.
That makes it
So
perfect.
they're not gonna be bringing other people's trash, and
Right.
they can't leave it unless
Makes-
it comes off their card, unless they're really good friends and
No, that's
pay
great,
for
that's
somebody
great.
else's trash. But, I mean, that's the kind of thing that would be quick and easy.
Right.
You still have to have somebody there monitoring it and everything, but,
Well, you'd save yourself
I
a
don't
pile
know
of
how
trouble
that
if you
works.
did that. You really
but-
would.
Well, I'm not in favor of people having to go into the town office, cause
There's so much going on
they
now.
have so much to do already. I wouldn't want, number one, it's inconvenient for people, so you're making it even more inconvenient for people to get rid of stuff, and you'll find more on the side of the road or whatever. But it's a huge burden for the town office employees to be able to process all those things. And then it would create a lot of traffic in and out of the building that we already want to try and start, you know, cutting that traffic back by having the online things. So I don't think that, I think by achieving one goal, we'd be defeating another one. So I don't think that would work.
What about starting like a program saying that we're gonna up the sticker prices significantly. We're gonna have a tiered program where there's like, you know, businesses are gonna pay this, you wanna use this, you're gonna pay this, and, you know, you wanna use bulky waste, you're gonna pay this, with the idea and telling people right up front that this is to help, that we're gonna do this to help raise some capital to help pay for this, but to also a certain percentage of it, big chunk of it's gonna be saved to pay for our new, because we need a whole new facility in 5 or 10 years, or
Well,
whatever it is.
Whatever DEP says.
Well,
it
DEP,
can't be there
it is a
anymore.
closed landfill, so they could, that's why you hear me running around all the time. If we get a divot and they say fill it in, or if there's a tree over there, that's why it takes precedent. Because they could walk in tomorrow and say, you're not operating here no more, you better find a place to go.
Yeah, well, I think we should probably think big. I mean, and maybe something like your card system would really work after we get our new facility. That's like, and it could be all set up for that card system. But I think with the way that it is right now, I don't think we should plan on being there in 10 years or something. Maybe. I mean, I don't know what the number is. Maybe it's 15 years.
Yeah,
but-
or,
So
and
we
that
don't
may be
need
something,
free
maybe we're not
time
gonna operate,
with
maybe
the
we won't
transition
operate a transfer
program.
station anymore. Maybe we're just down the road, 10 years, 12 years, we may find our backs against the wall that either we need to have 2 trash trucks and 4 employees picking up trash, or we look and say it's a lot cheaper, Matt's already paying workers' comp and stuff, and say maybe it's time for us to go to curbside collection. The
Oh, I see
only
what you're
problem
saying,
is
yeah.
that we've had in the past with that, and probably Matt could attest to it, is, man, Pittsfield's a lot bigger than we think it is. There's 54 miles of road, so if they're out there, there's a lot of road they're gonna have to travel to pick up this debris. It's not gonna be cities it works well, because you go house to house and you get a log on the bulk of the streets, but after you get out of the central part of town, there could be a mile between houses.
Oh, we could buy this little piece of property here with that building and turn it into the recycling center. That's an idea.
But it's just like the paper bag, the people resisted against that. They could save money. It costs them $100 a year if they did it right. And they'll go hire bolsters and pay $25 a week. I ain't got time to buy them bags and deal with this. Like, really? Now you're paying 50 times what you normally be paying. But some people will pay because they don't want the inconvenience of that.
Catherine.
All right, very good. This has been an excellent discussion. So it looks like for our action plan that we're going to do, have Donnie look at, and I'll assist, and anyone else regarding enforcement at the facility. And I have had details in the past at other transfer stations, and those work really good. Education, that's very important, and the recycling committee is getting back in there. The organics, and teaming up with Skowhegan is a very important component, because the organics are the heaviest items. And then this tiered sticker system would be a good way to start out, which would have the residents and the businesses having a different color sticker and a different and levels without getting too complicated. The card system will be looked at. I've heard of that from out of state. So I've got to remember, look back in some records to see where that was, but that is something that is used out of state, that you buy these cards and it's programmed in and everything, as to how much you buy, and then how much you pay at the transfer station, so we'll look at that. So I would think this would be a good basic
start, absolutely.
action plan on this item,
Are we
without
gonna
getting
look,
too complicated.
are we gonna look at, a proposed fee schedule for
The bulky waste?
the bulky waste and
We
the-
have it for the demo now, but it's very low.
Right, but I mean, just looking at the entire fee schedule for the transfer station as it is now and revamping that as a start, and then these other things can kind of come along.
So I don't think we want to get too complicated, but we are one of the only places that doesn't have a fee for bulky, so bulky heads here.
And I
Well,
think
it
if
was
we ban
bulky
demo,
and then the tipping, right?
Yeah,
And
ban
the
demo
demo.
and put a, yep.
you know, that doesn't affect the homeowner a little bit. They can bring some boards down or whatever and brush, but if you ban demo, I'm telling you, that does away with, that's gonna do away with 500 tons of stuff that we're accepting, that probably we shouldn't be paying for anyway.
So if the demo is banned, then it goes straight to the facility and they get our
Nope,
rate?
they would have to contract, they could call Bolsters, they could call Sullivan,
They
they
could
could
go
call
any
CMD,
place.
Pine Tree, there's 15 companies they can call and say, how much is it gonna cost me for a dumpster and to get rid of it when I fill it full of shingles? And that also gives fair competition to the private contractors, so it's to be competitive with them being able to
So
haul
it wouldn't be like the trash in which
Right.
they get the town's rate, which is
Right.
less.
They would
It
still
be
get the
different.
town rate, we would have them get the town rate, they would just pay what we're paying, but they're gonna be paying the bill. The only reason we're gonna do that is because we still have to track demo on an annual basis, so as long as I could call over to Waste Management and Matt says, well, how much is it gonna cost me to get rid of demo, so I can figure out what it's gonna cost, what I have to charge a customer, and I say $67.50. And Jeff McGowan over there says, okay, if Bolster is bringing stuff from Pittsfield, he comes in and says it's from Pittsfield, it earmarks it from Pittsfield, they're gonna charge him the rate of $67.50 instead of him as a small independent guy, he say, well, I'm gonna charge you $95. Well, it's not fair if he's getting charged $95 and Pine Tree, who is a multi-million-dollar company, gets a cheaper rate from him.
I would think if it comes from town, it would be at our rate, just like the trash.
Yeah, right, it'd still be our rate, but they would charge that rate and they would be responsible to pay the bill. It was just allowing them to get the same pricing as we do. Because again, we don't want residents of town to have an exorbitant cost on this. That was never the intention, is that we'll be your representative to get you a better rate to get rid of the
So
material.
whatever we do, we want to make it as simple as possible.
Simple, right. And like I said,
The one thing that people get bothered about is that if they've got like 15 different charges.
Yeah, boy.
Oh, yeah,
You
well,
know?
that's where I think the sticker thing would be pretty
Sticker
simple. I
thing
mean, one
is
time
a
a
good
year.
idea.
If you just want to use the compactor, it's $20 a year. If you want to use the bulky weight, it's going to be $40. And businesses are going to pay more.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't think that's
Because they
unreasonable
generate.
either.
Yeah.
It's not, it's
Very
simple,
fair.
simple and to the point and fair.
based on generation, I mean, that's all
What about
it is.
people that just bring down 3 times a year, they have a little bit of bulky waste, they bring it down, oh, I gotta pay $50 to do that, when somebody gives them paying $50 to
Right.
come down every day?
Yeah, I don't know. And I think,
I think again, if you're paying for it, you're not so apt to let somebody use your thing. And again, it's the same thing, generation. You're gonna find out that some of them are, you start hitting them in the pocketbook for that, they're gonna.
That's
So
what
why-
we're going every year, that sticker
So
time about, how
why
come we're
don't
not
we
charging
come up with this?
10 or $20 for these stickers?
Right.
Alrighty,
Trash is always an interesting subject. You can discuss it all night.
so, let's see, so before we leave here, before this, while I get Donnie right here, I just wanna make sure. So you're good with, is everybody good with what Catherine just read off? So you can put up,
Yeah, I think I'll do I'll do a proposal for a demo ban. I'll figure out some sort of a tiered system with the stickers. And I think that'll be a decent start.
For low users versus high users.
Right. Yeah.
okay. Do we have any other questions, councilors, for Donnie while I'm right here?
Thank you, Donnie.
Thank you, Donnie, very much, very
Thank you,
informative.
Hope you put this better.
As we said, the dump of the transfer station is the meeting place for the town.
Yeah. Thank you, Donnie, for coming in.
Hey, no problem.
All right, so the second item under presentations, congratulations, and introductions is community and economic development activities and events. So the event that we had, which we're just going to talk about briefly, was the 4th Annual Maine Cheese Festival held on Sunday, September 8th, 2019 in Hanson Park, which was a big hit. We had a small group of people doing a lot of work setting up on Saturday. So they were very high-energy volunteers. And the event looked like it was wonderful. Heather, did you want to give a brief report on the Cheese Festival?
Sure. So I received a lot of positive feedback by email and phone calls on Facebook from people. There's, if you didn't see it, there's a thank you in the Rolling Thunder from the Cheese Guild. Just a huge thank you to everyone who came out to our Maine Cheese Festival held on September 8th in Pittsfield. Thank you to the town of Pittsfield, the Manson Park Committee, Jack Wright, Donnie Shute of the Detroit Fire Department, Mike, I think it's Piat or is it Platt?
Platt.
Mike Platt of the Platt Electric, the Pittsfield Police Department, especially Chief Bickmore, Holly Zager and the Unitarian Universalist Meeting House, Sear Bus Lines, all the amazing volunteers that came to help, and Steve Vance and the Public Works got left off there. And then we had some great sponsors, Allagash Brewing, Are You Ready to Party for the tent rentals, Bangor Savings Bank, Bangor Wine and Cheese, Culture Magazine, and Advertising Specialists of Maine. We just, the guild was just blown away with how welcoming people were in town and how much fun people had. People really loved being able to park at the airport and being bussed over. It was really convenient for them. They were just tickled pink that there were skydivers going overhead all morning. Yeah, everybody loved the park and said how beautiful it was. Within the first hour, I had 3 people ask me if they could go kayaking in the river and where can we go hiking, and you have so many parks and it's so beautiful. And I think a lot of people said, oh, I've never actually gotten off the exit at Pittsfield, I just drive past it. I didn't know there was such a beautiful little town here. So I think it really brought a lot of people to Pittsfield that wouldn't normally have seen Pittsfield. I talked to people from Old Town, Brewer, Hamden, Biddeford, Brunswick. What's the other B town? Down. No, down.
Bucksport.
Further down south, near Sanford.
Buxton.
Berwick. Yeah, Berwick. I never remember that one. But pretty much like all over the state, people came over. So yeah, it was a great day, and we have a board meeting scheduled. They keep changing the date. I think it's the first week in October. We're going to have a board meeting to kind of break down the event and everything and go over things and then try and figure out what's going on. We're losing our event coordinator. Arlene's moving on to other things. So we're going to try and figure out what we're going to do there with a job description and everything. But she did a great job pulling everybody together and getting everything worked. She took really great notes, and so she did a really great job putting that together, and we appreciate everybody that kind of went above and beyond to help and put that on, and I think it really showed the best of Pittsfield to everybody.
Thank you. So Arlene was very good to work with.
Yeah, she did a great job. It was her second year doing it, and I think the second year's always better than the first year.
So the impressions that people had at the Cheese Festival were the same things that we've heard at the Bike Maine. I mean, they were actually hugging us and wanted to know where to go do all these things. Yeah. And after riding their bikes, they then wanted to go hiking. It was like,
yeah, somebody even already knew about the rail trail. And like, where's the rail trail? I can bring my bikes up and go riding and kayaking and whatnot. So hopefully that will generate some interest in people coming back to town.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you.
What was the attendance?
It's about 950 tickets were sold.
Mm-hmm.
It was about, well, I'll talk about that later, but yeah, it was about 950 tickets.
Very good. So we also have some certificates that are being signed this evening. We have a thank you to the Pittsfield Garden Club. And so the beauty in town in our parks and other locations is tended to by the Garden Club. It's been totally vibrant, especially the downtown planters that just spilled right over. Those were wonderful. We have a certificate of thank you that reads as follows: Pittsfield Garden Club. On behalf of our community, the town of Pittsfield would like to thank the Pittsfield Garden Club for their hard work maintaining all the flower and plant displays in town. The group has enhanced our town's community development efforts through the addition of beauty and enjoyment of surroundings. And then the concert series was a big hit again this year. So we have certificates for Jan Lutz and Barbara De Niro, who are the organizers. And these say Summer Concert Series with their name. On behalf of our community in the town of Pittsfield, we'd like to thank Barbara or Jan, because they each have one, for their hard work and volunteerism in organizing the wonderful Summer Concert Series. This has been a great addition to our community development efforts. The next item that I'll mention is PEAK. The Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation Board of Directors will be meeting shortly to address a number of items. They have a development opportunity that has come back after a number of years that would be of great benefit to the community. That would address a property here in town in which it may be able to be sold more easily than it has in the past, and that is a privately held property. We also have an application that has just come in for a business permit that will need to be reviewed by PEAK, because PEAK, Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation, actually owns the building under a lease purchase arrangement, which was set up back in the 1990s. And the second 20-year period is now underway, and the business will own it at the end of the year. So there's a small business permit for that, which would enhance the safety, appearance, and maintenance of the building. We'll hear an update on some current projects and interim plans until the projects are completed. Look at the Unity business map to see if we would like to proceed with creating one here. Here, an update on the town video that Gary Jordan is managing, and the photography to date. And then there is a proposal coming in for a cell tower on town property. It needs to be better defined, but I think this is the initial stages, so the Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation needs to be involved with that. And then just to promote our new businesses here within the last couple of years, I should say 1 year and a half, we have the Crossroads Case Management, which is at 442 Main Street. P-Squared Tax and Accounting is getting a lot of publicity on Facebook lately. That's at 113 North Lancey Street. This place, which is on Canaan Road, which is a second-hand dealer license and has a lot of antiques and interesting items. Pittsfield Medical Center, which is right here at 105 Main Street in town. Decked Out Skateboards, which is at 145 Heartland Avenue. The Sebastopol Trading Center at 1457 Main Street. The Central Maine Motors at Main Street. Graceland Photography, which is on Estelle Street. The Flower Studio at 117 Somerset Plaza, which has a lot of interesting little seminars and trainings that are taking place, and more to come. Sundew Studio at 113 North Lancey Street, which has all kinds of different activities that look wonderful. And then, of course, we've mentioned Dental Lace with their new packaging fulfillment center for online orders. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is public hearings, old business, of which there is none. So we'll skip right down the reports, and I'll start with council committees. Finance Committee.
Yes, Finance Committee met last Thursday. Howard and I were here. Heather joined us online. She was away. But when we talked about the 2019 capital improvement plans, specifically the RFP for the masonry work for the building and the roof for the building, looks like the masonry work is going to have to be put out and be rebid, and the bids we got were very high.
Yes, we had on the roofing system many bids, and an excellent one from an excellent contractor, so that will be coming in to you to sign a contract. They want to do the project early next year, and it's an excellent price, and as I noted, an excellent contractor, so that would be very good. And then the other items in which we have the good bid specs, we're going to have to rebid those, because the one contractor bid on everything, and they bid sometimes 3 times what we thought the price should be. So that can happen for many reasons. One, it's later in the year. Two, they may have had additional costs. Three, they may have just thrown out prices and needed to hire additional people, but sometimes items that are done later in the year cost more. So we will put those out again. I think what works well is February. And then you get ready for your spring and schedule your times and state when the project has to be done rather than leave it open-ended. So yes, we went over all that. The paving is pretty much on time, and the work is being done. The Peltoma Avenue is beautiful in terms of the sides, and the vegetation isn't in the road anymore, and it looks very good with shoulders and everything. Now we got to get the pavement to look good. So Public Works is working away on all of the roads, so everything is in progress in some form, and we heard a lengthy report on that.
And the other thing we talked about was the budget process that's upcoming. Catherine was working on getting all the budgets together and getting them, and make sure everybody gets the budgets turned in on
Yes,
time.
I'm trying to
A couple of
convince
them were late,
people,
so.
yes, convince people to turn their budgets in.
The other thing we talked about also was it's coming up on the agenda tonight is the new phone system. And that's all I have for the financial report.
Thank you, Bob. Ordinance Committee,
Ordinance Committee has not met. I believe there's items coming from the planning board, or no? Do you know, Catherine? I haven't received anything.
There actually is an item that could come from the planning board. There's some other administrative type items that could come in. When we do have a meeting, we should clean up everything.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. We need to have like a cleanup and reorganizing, because there's some things that have gone out to other places and haven't come back to us at all. So.
Yeah, and we did have on getting information on and not specifically an ordinance item, but get information on the committee that you had. We only had one proposal come back from a town, and then the manager's listserv had to be shut down because it was so much was going on. It was so out of control. It sort of overworked itself. So at the end of September, the listserv is coming back, and the town clerks have to be shut down for the same reason, and that's coming back. And then we can send out some inquiries of things. Hopefully, all of us won't jump on it and then overwhelm it again. But,
maybe we can look at late October for our meeting. I think that would work, mid to late October.
We'll have to see exactly what the planning board would have to.
Okay.
And the code officer has some items. Basically, that was around the sludge removal,
Right.
and how we have two ordinances, and they're both codified because they were both in the code when it was put together. So there can be an easy way to straighten that out, or that we can just clean up the whole thing and make one ordinance.
okay, thank you. Recycling Committee met on 9/4. Deanna Tilton gave an update on the reuse center, which was very successful this year. Committee discussed a tentative closing date and decided that the last Saturday in October would be it, weather permitting and everything. We don't have a real early winter, hopefully not. And the committee discussed with her, they'd like to try to find in the future some outlets for books and glassware, because they kind of get overrun with that stuff. And if we can find some place to, Donnie Shute gave the committee an update on the on the building at the recycling center. Tentatively, at the end of October, they're going to have the building put in down there, and then they're going to work on fixing up the inside of it, their office in there. They'll do that. Donnie also gave the committee an update on the composting program, and as it came out in that talk, he's looking at purchasing a line roll-off container and tied it in with another town to keep the cost down to run a composting program. Currently, we have a verbal agreement with Skowhegan, and he's looking into a possible pilot program this spring. That'd probably be the easiest way to get it started, as to coming in, like he said at his presentation, coming in with all that money and all that. We just piggyback on another town, start it, let's see how it works, and take it one step at a time. Town manager gave the committee an overview of the recycling brochures being used by the town. Donnie informed the committee that the recycling rate is currently at 46%. Recycling rates are down all over the state. The costs are down. Your cardboard and all that stuff, they're not getting huge prices for it like they were 4 years ago. Of course, everything runs in cycles. Donnie also informed the committee that the recycling bin, if anybody wants to know, because you get complaints because it's empty, it empties on Tuesday and Friday, and it's usually back by midday. So if they see it's around 8 o'clock in the morning, you can tell them they'll be back this afternoon after lunch. That usually will satisfy most people. Committee discussed possibly ordering more backyard composters so that they'll have them next spring. And committee discussed checking in with Tom Roberts to see if he would be interested in possibly doing another composting education class. He did that a few years ago at Wausau. It was very successful, and people were signing up left and right, and it was packed.
It was so successful, people didn't want to go home.
Yeah. And he is an excellent teacher. He's a very, very, very intelligent man, and he teaches very well. So I can see why they would want to go there. The committee discussed talking with the schools and education and educating them on recycling. You know, you got new students coming in, you got new teachers coming in, and it gets a foothold in there. And Donnie's going to talk with some school officials and get back to me and let me know when we can possibly do that. And our next meeting will be October 2nd at 4 o'clock. And that's all I have for recycling today. So the next thing, the next thing is board and committee updates by councils and manager. Howard, did you have anything that you wanted to throw out there for? I know it's past the thing, but the bicentennial.
Pretty much. There was a farm-to-table dinner on Saturday that I didn't attend, but was pretty well received. I understand it was at Outlet Farm. I heard that the venue was well done and the food was great, and probably the hopes is that it's going to be the start of an annual event. So we're looking forward to that next year.
Thank you, Howard.
That's it.
Sounds good. Heather, did you have anything else that you wanted to add? I congratulate you on yeah. Okay. So next we'll go to town manager report.
All right, very good. On the town manager's report, number one, public notice just to update all on the flushing of the town's hydrant system. So that began last month and has been concluded after several weeks. So all of our associates have provided training on how to flush the hydrants properly, which is to start at the water source and then move through town. We went through that whole process, and it has helped with the chemical, I should say, the minerals that were consolidating. And so we could flush later this year. However, it's likely that the next flushing would be early next year. So all of our associates will be attending the next council meeting to discuss all the enhancements that have been put in place, the maintenance update to the town's water system, and then preliminary budget estimates, which we're trying to put together for different options that would be available for water services for the future. Second, the Household Hazardous Waste Day, the date has been changed by the Kennebec Valley Council of Government, so that has been changed from October 5th to October 12th. And so that will be a residential household hazardous waste disposal collection event. There will not be medications involved because we already have the box and we have 2 events during the year. So that will take place on Saturday, October 12th, 9 a.m. to noon. Pre-registration is required. So in conjunction with the Kennebec Valley Council of Governments, other communities, the town of Pittsfield will host a regional residential household hazardous waste disposal event at the Pittsfield Recycling Transfer Station. And then it lists information on pre-registering and the location of the transfer station. Also, if there are non-residents that wish to participate, they have to pre-register with the town they reside in. So that town has to be involved with the Kennebec Valley Council of Governments program. So there'll be brochures, which we are working on right now, that will be available tomorrow for everyone. Ads going in the paper, and we'll start advertising this. We have less time than usual. However, KB COG lost a very long-term employee, so the household hazardous waste events are getting caught up by new staff members. So ours will go forward as always, but this time no medications. The Waverly Street Bridge is now closed to through traffic as the state of Maine needed to work on the bridge. So everybody can get to each property, but they have to, if they're going to one side by Heartland Avenue, they need to go over on Heartland Avenue to get to the area. If they're going to the area of Waverly Street that is past the Pinnacle transfer station, they need to enter by the North Main Street area, Madawaska Road. Number 4, the Kennebec Valley Council of Governments General Assembly annual meeting will be held on September 30th from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. in Waterville. We had one councilor sign up for that event along with myself on the board of directors. Number 5, the Maine Digital Government Summit. So we're going to want to register anyone that wants to go to this free event, which is on October 22nd, 2019 on technology, which is all day at the Augusta Civic Center. So we will want to register everybody by the end of the week and get that done. Number 6, our school resource officer, Michael Cody, if not already, will be in the school full-time shortly as a reserve officer is being hired to cover all of what would have been his shifts, his patrol shifts that he signed up for to the end of the year. The school has advised that they are very grateful that the program can continue and that they're very happy to work with the town. Number 7, all fall recreation sports programs are now up and running, and we would just like to say that we appreciate the efforts of all the volunteer coaches because they donate so much. I see them rushing into different places and all the hours of the practices and everything, and then all the work down at the parks. We also appreciate the efforts of Maine Central Institute with their oversight of the football program for the Recreation Department and the efforts of our part-time recreation director who has to be everywhere. Number 8, part-time theater position or assistant theater manager position is still available. We're looking for an individual to work with Jamie Jensen, our theater manager. 2 people whose skills complement each other would be great, and then Jamie will concentrate on some other projects. Number 9, update on the council chambers tiling and this little podium area that will be carpeted. The cost has been verified. We're all set to go. We are waiting for the schedule so that we can get into it as soon as possible. Michael should have that scheduled shortly. The safety tape will need to remain on the new carpet or some sort of safety tape pursuant to the insurance company until Public Works can build us some little railings. Number 10, budget calendar for 2020. So let's just quickly go over that. Bob talked about the budget process at the Finance Committee meeting. Calendars are upstairs, or been on the website since they were approved. So the budget requests from the departments and other entities were due on September 4, and so we had 3 departments that brought their budget proposals in on time, which was Transfer Station, Recycling, and Library. They did an excellent job. We then had 2 shortly thereafter, which was Code Enforcement and the Fire Department, and so they did well. And so the rest are all coming in now. And so the town manager department head conferences had to wait. I took care of the 5 that were in pretty much on time. And then the rest are all being scheduled for tomorrow. And all have scheduled except for 1 department head. Once I go through all the department head, town manager conferences, then a package will be put together of all the budgets all together instead of clumps of budgets as they come in. So one organized budget package. That will go to the Finance Committee, so they have plenty of time to review that for their September 26, 2019 meeting. And there'll be a number of department heads that are scheduled for that meeting after we go through the department head meetings to see exactly what we've got. There will then be a lot of addition and subtraction going on and inputting of information. And then on 10/10, we'll have our next Finance Committee meeting, and they can go over a few things. The completed budgets will go to the town councilors on October 11th, rather than the traditional October 31st Halloween. I've always delivered those on that day, so this will be earlier. And then the first town council workshop will take place on 10/22/2019. And that will be to review the overall expenditure budget, the overall revenue budget, and the overall capital budget. So the overall budgets of the town and how they fit and everything. So all Finance Committee meetings are at 4, and all town council meetings and workshops are at 6:30. And then there's a whole schedule after that.
Except the next. Finance Committee meeting is going to be at 3:30.
Okay, that's right. The next one will have to be at 3:30 because, you know, it turns out we probably won't have that many people signed up, but we'll do it at 3:30 anyway. Yes. All right, very good. So all the rest of them will be at 4 o'clock, and there's a whole listing of them. So when I meet with the building inspector, code enforcement officer tomorrow on the budget, we're also gonna talk about, a little exasperating ladder situation that's on Somerset Avenue, which is very aggravating. There are multiple ladders up at a location that is deteriorating, but the ladders are the situation that, is worrisome. The owner of the property has challenged the town on their right to have their ladders there and requested the OSHA requirements. And obviously, there are no OSHA requirements for residents, and we have made many requests, and so we're going to try a different technique here. The town cannot go on private property and take the ladders down, though it's tempting. So we will brainstorm tomorrow. We got some helpful information from Jane Woodworth, which we're going to follow up on. So that is still in progress, trying to convince people they need to take all their ladders down. They only need one ladder. Number 11, the tax acquired property goes out to bid as authorized by the town council. So that is coming right up, and there's a little twist with that. So the tax acquired properties were approved to go out 2 meetings ago in order to go through the time frame. So that's all set up and it works out fine, and all the letters have gone out and everything has been done that way. All bids would be received by October 10th, 2019 at 11 a.m. and there is interest. So in the interim, after the due date, the last redemption due date, we did have a property owner, the only one, the prior property owner, the only one that's residing at the property, come in and indicate that he would like to buy his property back. He's very apologetic about the whole situation. Has written a letter to the town councilors, which you all have a copy of. And so he has acquired the funds to get the property back, has talked to the deputy treasurer and myself, deputy tax collector and myself. And so if there's any way to do this, we would think that that was a good idea. And has promised that this will never happen again, and he'll set up a tax payment arrangement. So I'm not going to go into the details of the letter, but we did contact the town attorney to see how to do this, because we're several meetings after the approval, and I'm sure that there is some way to do this. So if we can find a legal way in which we could put an item on the next agenda, which is October 1st, would people be willing, if the monies are here, to sell that property back to the prior property owner?
Absolutely. One of the things we've always said, we don't want to take anybody's home, we don't have to. If he's willing to make the effort to pay this in full, I think we should make the effort to make sure that that happens.
I agree with Bob, because that property's been in that individual's family for 60 years. And I mean, if he lays the money on the table, if we could do it legally, I think that's the way we should go, but that's my opinion.
We would have a certified bank check for all the funds that are due. As I said, the individual is very apologetic. And so what we will do with that thought pattern in mind is we can change the ad tomorrow, but that's the last date that we can change the ad and make sure it's out on time, because it's at the newspapers waiting to go in on the proper date to meet all these requirements of the tax acquired property policy and ordinance. So we would extract those properties off with that understanding that that would all happen. And it seems like you're agreeable to do that. And we would feel better taking it off, because if we leave it on, all these people are going to run out and look at it, and then they're going to think they can buy it, and
Right.
it's just going to cause a lot of excitement here and upset people.
And if for some reason this does not happen in this way, we're in the spot of having to re-advertise.
We would be for that one property. That's the one thing. Emily and I met with him 2 times. We believe he is sincere.
Myself, I hate to advertise property twice, but again, like I said, the guy's had it in his family for 60 years. I'd really hate to see him lose it if he's got the money to pay for it. I hate to eat the cost of advertising twice if that happens, but I'd rather take a chance and see the guy keep his property myself, but I don't know how other councils feel about it.
I agree.
Well, if that did happen, we would just raise the bid to cover the cost of the additional advertising and other steps. All right.
Does he have to do, is it just the what's it, 2015 would be the oldest one that matured? Would it be 2015, 16? No, 16, 17,
2016.
So if he just pays the 2016.
Oh, he's gonna
then
pay
that-
everything has to be paid up.
Well, I know, but if he just paid the 2016, then that would remove it, correct?
No.
The
He has
lien
to
is
pay
on all 3 years, he has to pay all
everything.
those.
And all costs that we have incurred, all the
Okay.
certified, everything.
Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
And he's saying he's got the money.
He has luckily, got the money.
Okay.
Okay, so we don't have to discuss that anymore. All right. So, again, we'll get that resolved, and then there's a process to go through with that too. All right, if there's any legal way to do this, I believe there is, you just gotta figure it out, if this has not happened before. Next item, number 11, is the main, all right, we'll skip over that one. All right, besides the budget, the next large project that's coming up is the energy audit from KV Cog, and the council's received a copy of that document. It's a little bit confusing. There's some more work that can be done, and we did sign up for the streetlight project, which is under the grant, to find out exact costs, and that may or may not go forward. We believe it will, so we can get some more information beyond just the little preliminary figures that we have. The streetlights are the largest bill for the town, and all the electrical, it's over $55,000, so it's a lot of money. We have a lot of streetlights. And then some exciting news for Pittsfield. In the work program for MDOT for the years 2019 didn't have much in it, but it does have bridge work. 2020 and 2021, so the plan has been updated, and lo and behold, at the beginning of the listing, safety and infrastructure improvements that may include design, permitting, and construction of an 8-bay nested T-hangar that has been on our list for, well, decades. It is listed here preliminarily as $1.442 million. Of course, we have a 2.5% estimate match. So that is a new construction for the airport building. That is listed for 2020-21. And then there is a lot of work on Route 11 extending to east 23.16 miles. So there's a lot of work for capital plant paving, bridge rehab in several places along I-95 going through Pittsfield. Several areas here with huge figures attached, because anything you do on the interstate is very expensive, but they're going to be working on most of the overpasses that they didn't work on the last time that they went through. Interestingly enough, the Main Street project is still listed here for the exact amount of money it was listed before, which is $617,500. It says Route 11, that's Main Street, beginning 0.02 of a mile south of Nickel Street, which is where the project would begin, going northerly 1.81 miles, so that's up to the town line. Highway construction rehab, rural highways, highway rehab, $617,500. So that is the Main Street rebuild, to the extent that that is a rebuild. And so MDOT continues to work on that. We have been told we will get the survey for the downtown area by the end of September. So this is the next date that had been given. And so that does appear to be on time at this point. So we will call up about that again, and as soon as we get enough to do design work, our engineers, which are CES, are going to jump right into action, because that's a contract that's already approved, and start designing the sidewalk to fit in with what the state is going to do in their design of Main Street. And then there's some more paving and work on Route 2 that includes Newport, Palmyra, and Pittsfield. They will be beginning 0.03 mile northeast of Pooler Road and extending 9 miles, going up to Route 2W. Sometimes there's some interesting language in here on old names of roads and everything. I still think that's just Route 2. So that will be headed toward Newport and Palmyra, so that will be nice to have that paving there. So we've got massive amount of work that will be done. The most exciting items, of course, is that the Main Street project stayed in there, and that the construction of the 8-bay nested T-hanger is in there at a price that evidently it has to be to meet all the FAA standards and MDOT standards. We think we should just go out and build one, but we still have to meet all the standards because it's at the airport. And the last item, number 14, is that we came across some grant opportunities. Granted, they are small grant opportunities, but one for art education, which I know Councilor Billings would be excited about, one for recreation, and possibly the skating rink already. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
That would be good news for the committee that just got formed.
Yes,
All right, thank you, Catherine.
thank you.
Jamie, do you have anything on the theater?
I have a few things. One thing is that something that we're doing the Sponsor of the Week campaign, where we go to businesses, where I've been going to businesses and getting them to sponsor a movie, and I've done fairly well with that. And if I can get 52 weeks covered, that will save us $18,000 for the year, so that's exciting if I can do that. I have high hopes. What else? We have some great shows coming up. Ukulele Dress is coming. We have great movies showing right now. I was one of the ones late doing the budget, but it's done. So I apologize.
It was your first year, so I said that was okay.
So I apologize for that. And I really hope to see everybody in here at the theater. I think that I think we need the community to help out and push forward. We're doing much better than we were, but we just need a little bit more support. So I hope to see you guys all there. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yes, and I wanted to thank you. You're a very, very hard worker. I know that you came into a difficult situation and you still don't have, enough people to work with, but hopefully we'll divide up the sponsorship listings at the next theater committee meeting.
Jamie, when's Ukulele Rescue?
October 13th. Thanks. You're welcome.
Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate it very much.
You're welcome.
Next is new business.
Ordinance 19-12, to be set to public hearing on 10/1/2019, that the town council hereby ordains that Chapter 2B, General Assistance Ordinance, Appendices A through D, and Appendix H be rescinded, and the new appendices A through D and Appendix H be adopted to reflect the revised maximums for the period of October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2020, and to continue to use Appendices E through F set forth and filed with the Department of Health and Human Services, DHHS, until any new appendices are approved.
What's the motion from the council?
Move ordinance 19-12 be set to public hearing on 10/1/2019.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments, councilors, concerning this ordinance?
Every year.
Yeah, it's a regular yearly process.
Any other questions? Okay, not hearing any, since you're ready to vote. All those in favor of setting ordinance 19-12 to public hearing on 10/1/2019, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that is set to hearing.
Order 19-10. Town of Pittsfield orders of Town Council authorizing equipment lease purchase financing and appropriation of the proceeds thereof. Whereas the town desires to authorize a municipal equipment lease purchase financing arrangement and to appropriate the proceeds thereof to finance the cost of acquisition of a 3CX-ON premise phone system with Yealink SIP T46S phones, the equipment, and now therefore be it voted, resolved, and ordered by the Town Council of Pittsfield, Maine, Section 1, the sum of $564.33 per month for a yearly cost of $6,771.96 per year for a 5-year total of $33,859.80 is hereby appropriated to finance the cost of acquisition of the equipment. Section 2. for the purposes of financing the aforesaid appropriation pursuant to the town charter and all amendments thereof, and acts additional thereto, and all other authority thereto enabling, there is hereby authorized and approved one or more equipment lease purchase agreements, each such lease to be in such form and contain such terms and provisions as the town council and finance committee may hereafter determine or authorize, with such terms and conditions, including the interest rates, term or maturity, and other terms and conditions as the town treasurer and the mayor deem appropriate, and to award the equipment lease purchase agreements to such financial institution or institutions as it deems to be in the best interests of the town, and the treasurer, mayor, clerk, and other appropriate officers of the town are hereby authorized and empowered to do all such things and acts and things, and to execute, deliver, file, approve, and record all such lease purchase financing documents, leases, contracts, assignments, certificates, memoranda, abstracts, such other documents as required by the lessor of such equipment, and other documents as may be necessary or advisable, with the advice of counsel for the town, as may be necessary or appropriate in connection with such lease purchase financing. If the equipment is to be acquired by the town prior to execution of such equipment lease purchase agreement, the town, pursuant to Internal Revenue Service Treasury Regulation 1.150-2, hereby declares its official intent to pay on an interim basis costs of the equipment which costs the town reasonably expects to reimburse with proceeds of such tax-exempt equipment lease purchase agreements to be issued by the town in the maximum principal amount set forth above. Section 3. The acquisition of the equipment under such equipment lease purchase agreements is necessary, convenient, in the furtherance of, and will at all times be used in connection with the town's governmental and proprietary purposes and functions, and are in the best interests of the town. And no portion of the equipment will be used directly or indirectly in any trade or business carried on by any person other than the town on a basis different from the general public. The town covenants that it will perform all acts within its power which are or may be necessary to ensure that the interest portion of the rental payments under the equipment lease purchase agreements shall at all times be and remain exempt from federal income taxation. The town further covenants that the municipal lease purchase agreement is hereby designated a qualified tax-exempt obligation pursuant to Section 265B of the Internal Revenue Code.
Look for a motion from the council.
Move we adopt order 19-10.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments concerning this order? Audience, anyone in the audience have any questions concerning this order? Any questions whatsoever from the audience? No? Okay, not hearing it, turn over to the council. Council's questions or comments?
Yes, we need it.
I have a question that, just for notice, with respect to this phone system. I assume that it will make it more efficient for the folks in the office to do their work. And does it have, as I asked at the finance committee, does it have the capability and will it be used in order to direct calls directly to different departments so that they don't have to be answered by the office upstairs?
Yes, we can set it up any way we want. We can set it up so that somebody answers on certain days, they answer all the time, or they don't answer at all. Or there's a button to go to an individual if somebody does want to talk to somebody. So yes, it can go directly to the departments. And it sounded easier, much easier to program than the current one that we have, which can take time trying to program it. The current system dates back to 1997. As long as it worked, we would have kept it, but it started not functioning and needs to be replaced, and evidently was not new in 1997. It was several years old when we got it in 1997. Yes, so yes, it has extensive capabilities, and one of the items we talked about is calling around to different places and seeing how their systems are set up for the ease to make it easy for the citizens calling in, as well as easier for the staff who are answering some of the calls or all of the calls, depending on how it's set up. And so it sounds wonderful. There's a few open questions, which the company is going to get back to us. All of the other bids were disqualified for one reason or another, or were more expensive.
Okay, I'm just questioning if it's going to make the work more efficient.
Yes, it
for the
should.
folks in the office
Yeah.
upstairs. So
Yeah, I can't
they're
see
not
how it
taking
would.
notes for every department on every call that comes in, you know.
So what was discussed is about 30% of our phone calls in total are what are the transfer station hours and questions about the transfer station and when will motor vehicle be here? And so we can program those into the phone as some of the newest items, highest up in the hierarchy of the calls when it comes on and answers. Now there are people that do not want to talk to pressing all these buttons. They want to talk to a person, so there would be that option too.
Okay.
Yeah. So Michael, is there any way that you can see this would be more inefficient?
Inefficient.
No, not really. I mean,
Yeah, it would
it's
be
state of the
better.
art, really.
Okay. All right, we're spending the money, it needs to be done.
Correct.
But I just want to make it's being done for the right reasons,
Mhm,
and we're getting the most use out of it.
Yeah, multiple reasons.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Questions, councilors? Anybody have any other questions concerning this order? No? Yeah, if you're gonna spend that kind of money, I think we ought to have a good system. And the system up there is getting very antiquated. And I remember it was old when it came in.
Yeah, and again, we would have kept it if it was functioning properly, but it's got a mind of its own now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to point out, though, that this new system is actually gonna save us money. It costs less per month than we're paying now.
So it's a win-win.
Yeah, it's,
It's a little bit less, but we get to own the system at the end instead of just paying a fee every month.
yeah.
Okay, any other questions, councilors, concerning this order? Okay, not hearing any. I sent you ready to vote. All those in favor of order 19-10, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that passes.
Resolution 19-92. Resolve that the town council accept the proposal of Alliance Digital Networks, ADN, Internet Telephone of Bangor, Maine, in an amount to not exceed $856.80 per month for 60 months, as depicted in the proposal submitted in response to the town's phone system request for proposals dated August 13, 2019, contingent upon receipt of financing, the cost of which is included in the bid price, and authorize the town manager to execute all necessary paperwork for the lease purchase of the 3CX on-premise phone system with Yealinks SIP P46S phones for a cost to not exceed $856.80 per month for a 60-month period to include the lease purchase, phone service contract, and financing.
Look for motion from the council.
Move to adopt resolution 19-92.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Audience, anyone in the audience wish to speak concerning resolution 19-92? Anyone at all? Okay, not hearing any, I'll turn over to council. Questions or comments, councilors? Bob?
I just have one. How long is it going to take to do the switch over, Catherine, from the old phone to the new phone system?
So it was estimated by the company to be 3 weeks. Some of this is dependent upon how quickly the company known as Consolidated ports over the telephone numbers. So there is another company involved, the current company. So we have to get the numbers moved over.
There won't be any downtime in between the switch?
Oh, no,
We'll all
no,
be able to receive calls?
there couldn't be, no.
Okay.
They're gonna do that on a Saturday as well, so we'll be shut down when it happens.
Okay.
Questions? Any other questions, councilors, concerning this resolution? No? Okay, not hearing any, I sense you're ready to vote. All those in favor of resolution 19-92, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that resolution passes as well.
Resolution 19-93. Resolved that the town council approve the new application for a liquor license for Pop-On-Overs LLC at 119 Main Street, Pittsfield, Maine, 04967.
Look for motion from the council.
Move we adopt resolution 19-93.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Audience, anyone in the audience wish to comment on resolution 19-93. Yes, ma'am.
Amanda Collmore, Library Street. I just wanted to make sure, I doubt that there's a reason, but is there a reason why they didn't apply for one beforehand and they want to do it now? And does this affect other businesses that are supposed to already have it? Do we have a limit on the number of liquor licenses? I know some small towns do have that, and I didn't know if Pittsfield is one of them.
Yeah, we don't have a limit on the number of businesses that can have the liquor license. And different businesses will have it for different purposes. Some will have it for certain types of alcohol, some will have it for wine. This one is for some of the different events and activities that they have, as well as the paint and sip events that take place. That should really be covered under the a liquor license. And the town has a choice of holding a public hearing or not on a new application. And since Pop On Overs has been there for a couple of years and been an exceptional company, we saw no reason to put them through a public hearing and an additional step.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else in the audience have any comments concerning this resolution? No? Okay, not hearing any, I'll turn it over to the councilors. Questions or comments, councilors?
Do you know if they're going to be adding to their hours? Because they're not really open in the evening. And I know they do like their little events with the.
They have different catering events in the evening. I think it all would be just based upon, you know, how things are going, how much staff they have, and how much they can do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions, councilors, concerning this resolution?
So this is to more be for like their wine and painting. It's not like they're not going to be a bar now or something.
No, but I'm sure, you know, people may want wine with their dinner.
Okay.
But the paint and sip events were mentioned.
Okay.
Okay.
It's probably a good thing for them to have.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Any other questions, councilors? No? Okay, now hearing any, since you're ready to vote, all those in favor of resolution 19-93, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that resolution passes.
Resolution 19-94, resolve that the town council sign the application for a license for a special taste testing event for the Pittsfield Historical Society to be held on October 20th, 2019 at the Pittsfield Railroad Station.
Look for motion.
Move to adopt resolution 19-94.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Audience, anyone in the audience wish to comment on resolution 19-94? Yes, sir.
Ron Watson, 175 Main Street. So this is an event that the Historical Society is going to be putting on. Essentially, we want to feature some local businesses. One is Hager's Den, which is the meadery that's going to be starting up here in town. We wanted to feature them, which is the purpose for the special tasting, and then also several of the local farms and businesses that produce food, just to kind of bring the community together one more time in the fall before things get cold and everybody retreats back to their dens. So hopefully the event goes well and we can make this a yearly thing, but we're just starting out with the first year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Ron.
Yep.
Anyone else in the audience wish to speak on resolution 19-94 in the audience? No? Okay, not hearing any, I'll turn it over to the councilors. Questions or comments, councilors, concerning this resolution? No? Did you have any?
I was going to say, I think it's a good opportunity, like Ron says, to get people in the community together and get people out and about, enjoying the downtown and the beautiful depot.
It is a beautiful depot, and we did check to make sure there were no issues with the insurance company. And as long as we followed the state law, which of course we all would, no issues.
Okay, any other questions or comments? You're not hearing any, since you're ready to vote. All those in favor of resolution 19-94, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that passes as well.
Resolution 19-95, resolve that the town council accept the bid of blank in the amount not to exceed a dollar amount per yard for winter sand.
Look for motion from the council.
We'll read out resolution 19-95.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? We can discuss. Audience, yes, sir.
P-Rod Place, 127 School Street. So what's the numbers in the blanks filled in with? Because usually Those get filled in before.
Well, see, this is where we get a catch-22 with the way the system is set up. 95.5% of the time it works great, the other 5 is horrifying. But what we do is usually what we've done in the past is we'll adopt it. We'll vote on it and say, okay, we're going to adopt this resolution, then we'll discuss what we're going to put in there for numbers and what we have for numbers. But where I put it over to the audience first and it was accepted with blanks, because we're going to discuss that, then what I can do in this is when we're done discussing, I can throw it back to the audience and see if anybody else has any comments, if everybody's good with that. Because I mean, that's one of these things that it's not going to follow the conventional rule, okay? So if council's okay with that, why don't we discuss this first, put in what we decide for an amount, and then I'll put it back to the audience so they can discuss the amounts, because that only makes sense. They're not going to comment on blanks, it doesn't make sense. So, councilors, questions or comments? Why don't we beat this around and see what we come up with for numbers here?
I think Mr. Vance needs to go.
Mr. Vance is here. He is the expert in this area. I think he should have the floor first.
Somebody take that one up and go with it.
Show and tell, he's already in the front row with his bags of sand.
All right, look, we got sand samples.
Give us a good number.
We have sand samples.
They'll have to explain.
Not all sand is created equal, as we've been told and as we all know. So, we spec'd it out. We bid it for true winter sand. For specifications. And we had 2 bidders. 2 bids, that's it. And only one of them met spec. And the one that met spec was $14.95 a yard.
What did you pay last year, Steve?
I think I paid $7. But I trucked it. But it had too big of rocks, and it has too many fines also, but not as much as some of this sand. So if I truck it from where I trucked it from, I would say you could call it $9.50 a yard cost. To be fair, this is delivered. Okay, these prices are delivered. So low bid was $10.50, but he didn't meet the bid criteria. One, he doesn't meet the test specs. He didn't submit test specs. I went to his pit, pulled samples, and had it tested. And it doesn't meet spec. The other guy that did meet spec, he also bid an alternative that's similar to the competition, and it come out sharper, cleaner than the 1050, but that was for 1150. So you're at 1050 and 1150, and then the stuff that meets spec is the sharpest, the least amount of fines, so you're going to have the least amount of waste. Is that one, number one. So either you want true winter sand that doesn't have rocks in it, and that has rocks in it. The 1050 stuff, that's being passed through a 1/2-inch slatted screen. And because I looked at the operation, that's what I did Sunday. I went to all the pit locations and looked at the operation. The 1050 stuff, they're not scraping off the overburden. They're just digging into the bank. The overburden's falling in, which means you're getting dirty sand. You're getting a lot of fines, you're getting other stuff you don't want. That's why it didn't spec out. So their finer materials were very high. Fine materials don't do you any good on traction. Right, it's too fine. So you have a very high percentage over spec for one thing of finer materials, and it's the same, but to a lesser extent, much lesser extent on fines, with the alternate material that came from the other competition too. So
we have to make a decision on how much we're gonna spend for sand.
Do you feel that the big spec for a 3/8 screen is unreasonable? Because I heard from one of the...
You can call it that.
That's what I heard from one of the people that were going to bid on it. They said that, they called me and told me that 3/8 screen was unheard of in this area.
It is, that's why is it brewer spec then? If it's unheard of, that eliminates that right there. Do you want sand? Do you not want rocks? 100% has to pass 3/8 screen, and that is the spec the brewer uses. That means that you can have anything 3/8, quarter inch, and up. A certain percentage only lands on quarter. Do you want sand or do you want rock? You go by percentages. So.
Alright, I was just passing on information.
The old spec that the town of Pittsfield used to use was half-inch slatted screens. The half-inch slatted screen, which the slat would be up to 4 inches long, half-inch space between it. You could pass a half-inch rock that's 4 inches long through a slatted screen. That really doesn't get you what you want. And like my own guys have said, we've had worse than what we've had in recent years. It all comes with a cost. Like I said, I'm probably at $9.50 by the time I get it to the yard. Just get it to the yard, start putting it up the pile. We got 1050 that don't meet spec. It's got a lot of fines in it. It's not going to do you a lot of good. You're going to use more of it to try to get enough grit to give you traction. So that does not make sense. Now you're at 1150 for better stuff that would be acceptable. So that's another $5. But do you want the stuff that's going to not have any rocks? It's going to be the sharpest and very few fines. It comes within the spec.
And what was the price for that?
$14.95.
And that's truck delivered.
This is all delivered. Yeah,
How
that's the
long
way
does
was
it
built.
take? Did they give you an alternate bid if you go to get it? Is
No.
that feasible?
No, it's because we can't truck it as cheap.
Okay. That's
One,
what
I
was
got a
wondering.
70, it takes almost as much fuel.
No, that's what I was wondering, if it was
Yeah.
feasible, because it got, because you trucked it last year.
Well,
I didn't know if that was.
one, it's a real short haul where we're getting it from.
Right.
We can sort of handle that. We really can't handle Canaan, and that's, when I worked for the town of Pittsfield in 1980, we were hauling sand out of Canaan, screening our own, okay, buying stumpage. You can spend the better part of 2 months hauling winter sand.
Well, that was my concern.
Yeah.
That
And
you
lose
don't
those-
have that time.
Right.
You lose those guys trucking it during
Yeah.
that time.
Well, we
Wear
got
and
other
tear on
things
the
to do.
equipment.
We got other fish to fry.
If
And we
that's
can't,
the
and we
sand,
can't truck it as cheap.
if that's the sand bid that we have, and that's what meet our specs, we don't really have the option of taking something that didn't meet spec, right? Or do
Well,
we have
we
to
have
rebid?
the option of doing whatever we want if we want to waive things. We can do it in the best interest of the town. That is written in the rules, and that is something you can do.
And what's your recommendation?
I think we're gonna use less sand, and I know we're $4 a yard more.
How much are you looking to get?
Huh?
How much are you looking to get?
Well, that's the thing, I mean, it was spec'd out, I think, at 35, but I think I'm gonna use less, we could probably back off that.
Yeah, because right now he's budgeted for around 32,000 for the sand, which was a
Right,
substantial
well, the
increase.
budget was put in sort of kind of before we had all the other.
And so if you get 3,000 at the 1495, I think you're over 45,000, so we're gonna have a $13,000.
Right, we gotta figure out where we make that up.
Does it all come out of this year's budget, or does some go into 2020?
It's half and half, it's split between 2 years. Yeah. Yeah, you figure half in this year and half in next year. Yeah.
But are you gonna haul it all now?
It's all going now.
Yeah.
You pay for it now, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it doesn't really matter because the later part of what's in the budget is coming out of this year anyway, from last year.
Right.
And then the earlier part's coming, so it is really truly 1 year. Why they state it that way, I have no idea.
But that's just, I think you guys ought to come up and see the difference.
You didn't have to say that twice. I've been looking at those bags the whole time.
I didn't bring this shit in for nothing.
Show and tell.
Show and tell time.
All right, so you got, and then you got alternate nitrous, and then that's the real stuff.
That's the best stuff right there.
Well, just visually.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You can even feel the
There's no
fineness in
fine.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you're not just wasting, fines are just a waste. Okay, so when you look at percentages and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. No,
And you get paid a lot.
Good sense of all time.
Okay, so when you look at this percentage.
Little Michael, I've done a lot of things.
So, you want to, the percentage is 100% pass in 3 years. I don't know. 100% pass in 3 years.
Yeah, right.
95 to 100 has to pass.
You can even tell me kind of all that better stuff there.
So number 4, there is no criteria. And number 10 screen, okay, 55 to 95.
Little voice, little.
That's what we have. Set by weight.
Yeah.
And then you take a number 40 screen, between 10 and 60, and that's what we're set by weight. Now you get down to your refined material. I have no spec on the 60, no spec on the 200, but I really do care about, I mean the 100, but I do care about 200 gas solid.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm low on these refined material. So I'm really sharp. Number 200, 3.2% odds. Right in between and middle of the spec. Now you look at your others on the fines.
Yeah.
You fell below, you didn't even make the quarter, right? 88%. Everything starts falling out of spec.
So did anybody
Really high
submit
on
samples?
fines, really high on fine material on this one. What's that?
Did anybody submit samples with it?
No. I went and got them out of the pit.
How much less do you think you're gonna use?
Yeah, that's what be my question.
How much less do you think you're gonna use?
I'm gonna guess 20.
20% less.
Yeah.
From
Yeah, oh, yeah, it's like
Oh, no, it's just, it has no, it's very dirty. And that's because they don't scrape off the overburden. That's because they have clay veins. That's because of all the other contaminants. Too many ponds. Yeah. This is a different pit. This is out of Canada. This is out of Canada. Not scraped at all.
We've had stuff like this on the road before. This ice cream
Yep.
stuff like this.
Yep. But it's still too high in ponds. And then this stuff here. So,
Steve, did you use all 3,500 yards last year?
actually, I saved about 400 yards. I think it's because the 2 flower we took over. When other towns were running out, I didn't have to buy some.
Okay, so you used about 3,100.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but I can't predict weather, so I plan.
Really? You should pay more. The 3,000 yard,
Right.
is that after the theoretical saving of 20% because it's better sand, or is that just what you think you're gonna need no matter what?
Yeah, we're gonna plan on what we need no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay, because I can't predict how many events and what kind of events. If it's like last winter, towns are running out and buying in the winter.
And do we still have the 400 yards that you think you had left last year? Do we still have sand
Pretty
in
much
stock?
sitting right there on the base, yeah.
So do we think we only need
But
about
that's,
2,600
but
then?
that stuff's got rocks in it.
Well,
So that's my base.
it's, yeah, so,
But if I have to get into it, I will.
yeah.
Well, I'm gonna try to, before we start taking deliveries of sand, spread that in as my base to keep my sand up out of the low spot, up, you know. So we're always working up a slight incline. Cause that way the water, when it does rain, it sort of runs off.
Yeah.
I have a question. What does it cost for just salt? Say we didn't even put sand down.
Well,
just
yeah,
put
see,
straight
there you
salt.
go, now you get smart, because, salt's $52 a ton, that's what we buy it for right now. I mean, everything's gonna go up, inflation is what it is. But there's a reason why state does salt priority. One, it is hard on your vehicles, but it can't cover all scenarios, you're always gonna have to have some sand, but you reduce that amount. You pay to buy it, you gotta add salt to it to keep it from freezing, which the fine material, you're gonna add even more salt to it to keep it from freezing. So there's the other hidden cost. Now, so you add salt to it, you put it up, now you gotta load it, you gotta spread it. Now you gotta clean it up in the spring. And it's not just on the streets, now you gotta try to suck it out of your catch basins. You gotta clean all that out from all that ran in the spring or rain events in the winter. So sand becomes really expensive, so when you look at $52 a ton for what it covers for, say, let's say it covers 75% of your events doing salt. And maybe a little bit of grit here at intersections and stuff where you need it in hills. And ice events where it's cold enough, where it turns off cold enough afterwards, where salt can't work, then yeah. But there's other things, there's brines and stuff, but if you're gonna migrate towards that, you're gonna have an equipment investment too. You just can't go just spread rock salt and think it's gonna solve all your problems. That's why the state has brining operations, pre-treatments. They have a system and it works, and it does cost less to use salt.
Do we have salt storage?
I have a small salt storage. I would not have the amount of salt storage that I need. I can get deliveries, but I can empty my storage in one event of the right event. My salt shed. I can empty that in one event that happens to be under the right condition.
Well, I remember you saying earlier in the year it costs us when the sand, we gotta buy it and then we gotta clean it and we gotta do all this. If we just paid, if we're gonna pay $14.95 for sand, like how much more expensive is it for salt? And
Well,
then we
you
never
have to look at that as a project, and that is not something I'm gonna be able to answer this year to get you out of this year.
Something to think about in the future then maybe.
It is, yeah, you'd have to plan for it. You'd have to put together the whole cost of the project. What do we need for additional equipment? What do we need for additional storage? And how effective is it gonna be, and how much sand we still need to put up? It's not a small project, but I can get help with that. The state will help me with that.
We would also have to check into if any permitting was required, because right now we can have our sand pile there.
We're grandfathered on the salted
For the
sand pile,
sand,
correct.
the sand, yeah.
You couldn't put us outdoor salt, don't
Yes.
work anyway, so you'd have to put up a building.
Yeah, you would have to.
But it could be a soft building, it don't have to be a hard building. But it does have rules and guidelines. So, I just need you to decide what you're gonna do. You've got all my input.
So keep in mind that he's budgeted for around 32,000, which it was increased from the prior figures because it was going to be delivered and not having Public Works go and do it as part of their job.
Correct.
And so at 3,000, you're coming up around 45,000, so you have $13,000 deficit, which would have to be made up someplace else in the budget.
And that's all within this year.
Have to be
Yeah,
made up
that would be
somewhere.
in this year. Or
And we
somebody-
already have overruns in other.
He does, yes.
Well, we know he does, but other departments also have overruns with
Yeah.
time and whatnot.
Yes, yeah.
Well, the budget's going through an evolving stage is what it is. It hasn't been, it's been adequate if you don't, this is what I'm gonna say, it's been adequate if you don't really wanna do something. It's hasn't been adequate if you really wanna try to do something. So if you really don't wanna try to do something, why do you need us at all? You know what I'm saying? But if you wanna try to do something, ditching, culverts, fixing roads, infrastructure and stuff like that, then yeah. So the budget's evolving, so yeah, it's hard to wrap your head around right out of the gate when it wasn't structured that way completely in the beginning. So that's all I'm gonna say about that.
So I'm inclined to say the $14.95 sand, just because it's better quality sand. But that leaves us with the question of where do we find $13,000 to pay for the rest of the sand?
Can you find it?
Can I find it?
Well, no, I mean, I'm talking
I'm not the one that finds money, no. No. What I got's what I got. My equipment repairs, I mean, I got agent equipment. My equipment repairs have been more than my budget, for one thing, I do know that.
What's the dollar difference if we went with the $14.95 versus, you said the second best one was $10.50, $11.50?
$11.50.
$11.50.
It's like $13,000.
So what's the total
Or
difference?
$10,350.
So it's only a couple grand more to go with that stuff?
But don't forget, you're gonna start.
$10,350 was the difference between the $11.50 and
But
the
you can't forget the hidden
$14.95.
cost.
But that's still over his budget.
Right. The hidden cost with that many pines in the material is I'm gonna use more salt, put it out to keep it from freezing, so it works well for me. The other part is the percentage of fines that I have, which is quite a bit, I can show you this back. I'm gonna waste more of it. I'm gonna have to put more of it out to give you the traction that you're gonna want. So what'd you say? Did you save your $6,000? I don't think so. And that's what Peter Viggy was talking about.
No, I understand that, but if you don't have 10 grand, you don't have 10 grand. So I mean, I'd love to drive around a new pickup every year, but I can't afford to, so I don't. You know, that's what you have to look at. Like I understand, I would
You can
love
look
to
at it whatever way you want. I'm just telling you just the way it is.
Yeah.
So if you want to accept the $10.50, that's what you're gonna do.
Yeah, because you don't.
You're gonna have to waive the bid.
Are you taking over more plowing this year than you?
I'm not taking over any more this year.
Yeah.
Not this year, no.
Because the places where you were plowing were saving sand usage.
Correct. I use less sand. I use less sand on those routes than I did on the other routes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's too bad we couldn't find more places.
I think we're all heading in the right direction, even with this. I mean, it's all going in the right direction. I think ultimately, the ultimate goal would be sole priority, follow along state guidelines. But then again, that's more of an investment. You can't do it all at once, and you can't do it right out of the gate. That's what we're in.
Do you have a line item for salt in the budget?
I do.
And so, if we got the cheaper sand, is that gonna blow that out of the water? You buy cheaper sand and then you end up buying more salt?
My salt's separate, right, Catherine?
The salt is in the same budget.
Did you include the 32,000 including the salt?
No, that, you have separate figures, you put
That's what
separate
I'm saying.
figures in your budget, and so
Correct.
that's what you submitted is what is in your budget.
For sand, and you got a separate number
Correct.
for salt.
Yeah, they're all in the supply line.
I mean, this is a little bit on, the other end. I mean, the salt thing, you really can't get to a point where you can't say can't use it. In other words, if you're overrun on your costs on salt, because you try to plan the best you can, but you don't know what the weather event's gonna be. Without trying to be way over. You don't leave a lot of money. Just floating around.
So you want to be really careful that you don't not buy enough of the good, because we could buy less of the good stuff and be really optimistic.
I think I think we'd be all right. I mean, it's all a gamble, but I got some reserve in the yard.
Yeah.
Okay? It's just not this stuff. I know that typically 3,500 yards will cover me with the way the weather's changed over the last, 4 or 5 years. Well, actually, 3 years.
3 years have been tough.
The last 3 years have been tough. Yeah.
Yep, a lot of ice.
A lot of ice, yeah. So I don't know that that's going to change. So you got to have the materials to fight it. Like I said.
Yeah, some years we just don't get storms. We don't get the snow. I mean,
See, you're not gonna find any of this stuff right around here. That's one of the reasons why the cost is higher, is because it comes out of Emden. But as far as a supply of it, okay, there's probably 300 acres of it.
Lots of it.
Available.
Yeah. So could we save a little bit by buying a little bit less, or you're really sticking to your 3,500 yards?
No, I mean, knock it down to 3,000.
What does that save us?
That's the 13,000.
That's the 13,000, yeah. Okay.
I already know.
So we're still at 30,000.
I don't know that I'd want to push that down to 25.
I agree.
No, we can't.
I think I'm on the border at 3, but I do have some reserve.
You got about
So
4 left.
what I got sitting in the yard, if I have to use that and empty everything I got, that means that next year, I'm gonna want 35.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it works. But if this stuff, I have to spread less of it, make it work, and I save that, then I don't have to buy it. In other words, if I have half my sand pile at the end of this year,
We made
I'm
all the
only gonna buy
We
half
made all-
the next year.
Yeah, we did awesome. Find a way to do that, will you? That'll make us look really good.
Maybe I can, I don't know. I haven't used anything that good before.
This
Yep.
stuff is much better than what we've had the last several years.
That stuff's
So
good.
it will clump less, be
That
dirty
stuff-
less, have less rocks.
That stuff right there is better than anything you ever had in the history of this year.
We had several years of really good material.
I got a guy up the shop right now, that's been through it, right, pretty much from the beginning. And he says, wow,
That is good sand.
yeah.
Steve, will the grittier sand stay on the road better and not get washed down into the catch basins as much as the mucky, muddy, fine one?
It will have all sand, hey, here's another, all sand has a tendency to get blown off.
Well,
By
yeah, I know
traffic,
that,
by
but I'm just
traffic.
saying that the fine stuff, you get that, like, will it stay on the road so you can clean it up off the road?
Yes, you're gonna have
Versus
your car.
washing away into the catch basins?
You know, the big giant stains you see on the car, that's from more fines.
Muck.
Right. You know, when the whole side of your car is all brown.
I
The
can't-
fines, as soon as you try to spread it, and they get caught in the wind currents, they just sort of drift to the side of the road. You're gonna have more chance, if you're traveling at the right speed, of making that stick on the road, yes. But some states have even gone to the point where they preheat their sand before they displace it. So in other words, it's running by a burner, getting up to temp, so when it hits the road, it sticks.
I have a hairdryer.
And you're gonna run behind it, right?
Yeah.
I think you put a platform on a truck, you can ride on it.
So I suppose we could mount a small generator up on the
Yeah.
right?
Steve,
I don't know.
what do you put, given that you put $32,000 in the budget in 2019 for sand, all right?
Right.
And that's what we've got right now. But given the fact that the price increase is so much greater,
Right.
what are you gonna put in for next year?
I think I already did. Well, you haven't seen it yet, but that's what I put in. I put in $15 a yard, even before I see that number.
At 3,500?
Yep.
3,500, yeah.
Oh, wait till you see his budget.
I'm such anticipation, I can't begin to tell you.
Well, It's been real.
What did we get for sand last year? Did we
What's
get
that?
any, did we get the mucky sand last year?
We got worse.
We didn't get
We
into
got worse
that.
than the mucky.
No.
It's not very.
I would
It was
say,
nine-
I'd say the stuff we had last year, other than
Was that plus rocks? Bigger rocks?
bigger rocks in it.
And
Up to
what did we
3/4.
pay for sand last year? The 750, 950? What was?
750. Then we moved it.
750, 750.
And we trucked it
So 950.
at 950.
So I'm thinking, yeah, we're
Cost.
probably at 950.
If you want to compare it.
Overall cost, not additional to the 750.
Overall cost.
Overall
Overall
cost
cost.
landed in the yard.
Was
That's
950.
not putting it up and adding salt into it and
Okay.
all that, no.
So we're looking at like $8 more this year. So almost twice.
Huh?
I said, so it would be almost twice the cost
Why?
this year. If we got the $14.95 delivered in the yard.
$14.95 delivered in the yard versus $9.50 delivered in the yard.
And we also have all of our guys able
Yes.
to do other things instead of driving sand.
Correct.
Opportunity cost.
Yeah. During that time period, we'll be.
So if you add the cost all in, you're talking what, probably, if you.
$5 a yard.
Yeah. I
That's what it
mean,
is.
you're pretty close.
So it's
by the
not
time you take
far
all
off.
everything out. No,
Well, it's a
a
third
couple
more.
couple
So
dollars.
it's not far off what it actually cost us to get sand last year.
I'd say go for 3,000 at the 14.95.
Better sand.
Okay.
And
Gotta
we
figure
keep
out
our
where I'm gonna
staff.
come up with that money.
I thought you said you're not,
No, I'm backpedaling. Yeah.
You could sell some pieces of equipment or something and not use it.
But I do know this, until I get down into my base, I won't have any rock. And I do know this, that until I get down into my base, this stuff is gonna do a better job than anything I've ever had. So, yeah. But this stuff here is pretty good. This is 1150, but I'm gonna have some rock.
I think you should go with the $14.95 myself. Personally, I think we're gonna get a better product in the end.
Yeah. For what
I really do for what we're paying
And use less.
and use less.
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I just know we're putting
I'm not gonna
some
use
people in some tight
50%
spots.
less because the numbers don't work that way. If you just look at the percentage on the spec sheet and you manage it properly, I'm not gonna use 50% less, but I would guess that I could possibly, potentially use 20% less than I would with the other one.
Yep.
And hopefully we won't have a great winter and you can have some left over for next year.
What's that?
So hopefully we won't have a rough winter and you can have some left over for next year.
You obviously didn't read the almanac yet.
Yeah, I read it. Big digging in your base about the end of February.
I don't
Well,
know,
even
I
at
mean-
1150, we're $2,500 over the budget.
Right.
So either way, it's going to be more than what we have in the budget. So the budget was off.
Well,
Or
no, the
things are
budget
just
went
all
off, the
coming in
budget, I just
higher.
didn't plan on, when the budget was formulated last year, I didn't plan on being in this position. It was in another position.
Yeah.
Truck, at the price I
Right.
normally buy it
Right.
for.
Do you know what that sand went for last year? Like, did their price go up year over year, or is it just?
This stuff here
Yeah,
pretty much classifies,
No, the $14.95.
You know what
the
it was last year?
$14.95 pretty much
Email.
classifies also as usable for Class B underdrain material. And now Class B underdrain material is hard to come by. Good sand, which is Class B underdrain, is hard to come by. That's why it has to come out of Emden.
Okay.
Somebody in Emden's doing quite well.
Well,
I don't know. I think we go to the $14.95 and
Do
we
3,000.
figure something out.
Worst case is we try it for a year, right?
Yeah. Give it a shot and see what happens.
does the council feel, how's the council feel about that? Go with the 3,000, go with the $14.95.
Well, I mean, I am for that. It's just that the only person in this room that knows what it really means budget-wise is Catherine, because she's the one that's going to have to find the
money.
stuff to move around, because she can't end up $1 over what the budget is at the end of the year. So you got to push stuff around to make it work.
So the budget is extremely tight this year. We have overruns already.
Yep.
Because we're trying to do a lot more than what we've done before. So we're gonna have to be very conservative with the budgets from now on.
And
Not
what we're
that we haven't
operating
been,
in now.
not that we haven't been already.
Through the end of the year, what we're operating in
Correct.
now.
Yes.
So doing this for the right decision, which I think this possibly is the right decision, it's just going to put a strain on somebody else who's trying to do the right thing too. I mean,
Mhm. Yeah,
other
follow
budgets where
the
people are
laws.
trying to. I mean, so that's just what this. That's what it equates to. You know?
I'm hoping, it sounds to me like if we go with that and what it would have cost you to,
Hopefully, we
in
can
time and
save
effort and all the other things that have to be put into it if you have a lesser product, you know, you may make up quite a bit of that and less manpower.
Well, I don't think
hopefully.
you're really gonna, right,
Right,
yes.
but you're already
Right.
budgeted for the
Right,
manpower.
I don't think, because the unseens are, if I do the 1050, I'm gonna add more salt.
Right.
Okay, you're not really getting out of it any cheaper.
So how does, so you've got a salt per ton, $52 per ton for salt, but then we're measuring the cost of sand in yards. So is there a way we can equate them to see what it would actually be? Like if you have to add 20% salt to that 1050 sand, what we can add to that to actually have a figure of what that
a yard-
product would cost to add to the.
A yard of sand probably weighs 1.2, I don't know without looking it up, 1.2 ton.
I think that's correct. My little calculator that did all this is gone because somebody borrowed it.
And then salt, I think weighs similar,
did that?
1.3, it's a little denser or something like that.
1.3 ton per yard.
Per yard, yeah.
Steve.
To give you like terms, yard versus yard. But remember, 1 yard of salt will go a lot further under the right temperatures than 1 yard of sand.
If we're getting less sand, but can we get less salt?
So the key is, you can't use salt priority if you start plowing at 2 inches. It don't work that way. You gotta have clean roads. You're gonna start plowing at 1 inch, and you're gonna keep your roads clean, just like the state does, or just like we did those 2 routes last year.
Which is gonna make people happy because they'll have nicer roads too.
Well, I mean, people were happy with the 2 routes that we did, yes. I mean, we had a little bit of a learning curve, but
For the most part,
for the
though,
most
it
part,
was-
we did better.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you do go round and round.
What is
But
it,
the state, once the
32,000?
storm starts,
That's a
they're
lot.
pretty much round and round until the storm stops.
All right, so we're gonna have to make a decision. We do need the better sand. The sand in the last 3 years wasn't very good. Prior to that, wasn't as good as this, but it was still better. So this is the stage that we're at. We're gonna have to bid this out early next year in the anticipation of perhaps getting more bids and more competitive, because people wouldn't have sold as much.
Well, I do think that we can say that we are making the most well-informed sand purchasing decision we have ever made.
I think the council probably has a better understanding of the sand than they ever had. So,
Yeah, I mean, and it makes a lot of sense. You know, I personally feel like we had a pretty hard sand year last year, and you and you still came in under. It's just hard to say what this next year is going to be like, but with better sand, I gotta believe. I mean, I know it's
don't
a
set me up
risky.
for failure, because I'm gonna tell you right now, it all depends on your winter. Last winter was a son of a gun.
I know, and you used 3,100 yards.
And if we have another winter like last winter, we're gonna have to get into sand and sidewalks. Because we can't just let the sidewalks be whatever they're gonna be.
Be bottles.
Like they are last year.
How do you sand the sidewalk?
With the sidewalk sander.
You'd have to buy some equipment.
We don't have a sidewalk sander right now.
No, but they make them all day long. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You mean I could get a job making sidewalks?
Yes, I'll tell you, yes you can.
All right.
Sand.
Okay.
Okay, so is it,
Okay, I mean, you know, we're not ready to buy a sidewalk sander right now.
no, what I'm saying, how we're looking at $14.95 pretty much.
So can we approve the purchase of the sand at $14.95 up to the amount that's in the budget for $32,000 for this year, and then buy
What's
more
that
sand
equate
if
to?
we need it?
they'll have to get into the pit, which is the problem, and usually a
Usually
lot of
when they're in
places
the hole,
can't get
they're
in
in the
during the
hole all
wet
the
pits.
time.
Yeah, and then they charge more.
That's a 2100.
Break it open.
Yeah, that's 2100
Yeah.
speed.
Storm or after.
Well,
Can you dick her with it at all?
2100 yards.
Tell them 13.
So if we do that, that's only 2140 yards.
No,
Yeah.
you can't do that.
No.
that's not enough.
Now, if we
That's
did
not safe.
2800 yards, which Steve probably still won't even like us. Times
If you did
4.
2,800, I'd consider it. I mean,
That puts us at like 30.
worst case is you get into the situation that I had last year, 3 seasons ago.
Where you have to
I
buy
had
it.
to buy 500 in the winter.
38.
Trying to find it.
How? Couldn't you get this out of Emden, or I mean, it's going to be more than $14 a yard if you get it out of Emden in
Oh, yeah,
March.
in March it becomes an absolute premium.
Yeah, it's going to be $20 or even more than that. Yep, but that's a risk. That would be 41,000, which puts us over our budget by $9,000. Yeah. Instead of $14,000.
Well, you said you still have 400 yards or so of the porcelain from last year that could be used in a pinch.
If you want to squeeze it 28, I'll try that.
So how far can we take down like that whole yard out there? Because it's like the whole thing is just sand.
No, that whole thing is not sand. What are you talking about?
Sort of everything.
That's what they did.
That's like the question that somebody asked, well, why can't we use the sweepings?
No, I know. I'd be sarcastic.
Okay.
It's not used.
All right, so it sounds to me, it sounds to me like we're talking 28 is this last.
Bare minimum.
Bare minimum.
I think we ought to keep it 3 and just
I
not
agree
even
with
risk it.
Matt.
Not risk it?
It
No.
is scary not to have sand on
Yeah.
the end.
Yeah.
It is, and it would be expensive at the last minute. I mean, we're talking $5,000 to know that we're going to be good, and it's going to, for $4,000. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
All right, so we'll
4,000 more.
we'll get what we need, we'll be safe on the sand, and then if necessary, there'll have to be a freeze as we get near the end of the year. We'll
Okay.
just see how things go.
Can you live with that?
Maybe it'll be
Okay.
fine.
Now, before we make a decision, folks, I want the audience to have a chance to comment, because we kind of had to do that this way. So we're basically looking at $14.95 for the sand. Anybody in the audience wish to comment on that? I'll open it up to them right now. Anybody have any questions or comments concerning that? Yes, ma'am.
Amanda Collmore, Library Street. I just wonder how that fills in our blanks now. I know that it's going to be $14.95, but what about the other 2 blanks?
So that came from
Who's the guy who we
Snowman.
buying it from, Steve?
What's that?
Who are we buying it from?
That would be Snowman's Construction.
So the total
St.
bid
Albans?
Yes,
was
St.
44,
Snowman's
850. Is that right?
Construction.
Oh, because they're going to haul it from Emden. They're going to be the
They're in
same.
St.
Truck
Albans.
it from Emden.
Yes, they're in St. Albans.
So the blanks would be Snowman Construction of St. Albans, Maine.
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was the.
Isn't that what it is?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So the amount,
$14.95 a yard.
Thank you.
$14.95 per yard.
And do we have an amount not to exceed that we tack on there, or a total number of yards?
I was gonna say we're gonna limit it to 3,000 yards, or?
Yeah, we're not exceeding 3,000 yards.
So they'll have to amend that. Right.
Yeah.
In an amount not to,
Exceed.
3,000, yeah.
not to exceed, what was it again?
3,000 yards.
3.
Who's amending that?
I'll make a resolution.
Okay, before we start doing that, let's see if, I'll let you do that. I just want to see if we got any other comments from the audience. Yes.
So what's the budget deficit
13,000 approximately.
with that 3,000 yards? Yeah.
Yes, with 3,000.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments concerning this from the audience? I don't want to shut people down. Yes, Ron.
Ron Watson, 175 Main Street. 3,000 yards at $14.95 seems like a no-brainer. I know it's a difficult decision, but if you don't make that decision, you're just kicking the can down the road.
I got a funny feeling we may have some left over.
Yeah, and we might have some left over. And I think it's probably a good bet to assume that every winter is going to be worse than the last one.
Welcome to Maine.
There's going to be nobody here in a few years, that's why I said that, so.
How fast he caught on? He's only been here a few years and he caught on to that real quick.
All right, is there anybody else that wants to comment on this in the audience? I don't want to exclude anybody. Okay, anybody, any comments from the audience at all? Okay, not hearing any, we'll turn it back over to council. So, Bob, you said you would make a...
I'll make a motion that resolution 1995 be amended to read also, cap the limit of sand at 3,000 yards.
Do I hear a second?
Don't we need to do the whole thing? Snowman's construction out of St. Albans.
Okay, so what we're doing is it would say Snowman Construction, I amended it to say Snowman Construction, St. Albans, an amount not to exceed $14.95 per yard for winter sand, and then not to exceed, in an amount not to exceed 3,000 yards. Is that correct?
Correct.
Second.
So that's what that would read.
Yes.
Okay. Then we have to vote on the amended, and then we have to
Vote to accept them and then.
say that again.
We have to vote to accept the amendment?
Yeah.
Is that, because you already seconded?
Yep.
So-
Okay. So, any other questions or comments, council, before we're ready to vote? No? All those in favor of resolution 19-95 as amended, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and the resolution is amended, and the resolution 19-95, Snowman Construction of St. Albans, Maine, in an amount not to exceed $14.95 per yard of winter sand, for winter sand, in an amount not to exceed 3,000 yards. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that resolution passes as amended.
Resolution 19-96. Resolved that the Town Council accept the proposal of Charter Communications Operating LLC in the amount of $84.99 per month and one-time installation charge of $99 for high-speed internet service, 100/10 megabits per second, at the Water Garage, 120 Bow Street, and authorizing town manager to execute the service agreement.
Look for a motion from the council.
Move we adopt resolution 19-96.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? We're going to go to the audience first this time in this one. Anyone in the audience wish to comment on resolution 19-96? Any comments from the audience concerning resolution 19-96? Okay, not hearing any, I'll turn over to council. Questions or comments, councilors, concerning this resolution?
This is for the new phone system because it will need internet access, correct?
Yeah, right now they have very slow internet, and it's more expensive than what we're moving to anyway, so we're planning on doing it regardless, but it will allow us to integrate them into the phone system as well.
Good deal.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments, councilors? Yes, Bob.
Will other departments eventually need to do the same thing, or are we all up to date with the other departments?
Everybody else is up to date. Some of the departments, like the transfer station, they don't have internet at all. So we can get an app for their phone, and they'll actually have their extension linked to that app.
Okay.
And we might actually do that for Public Works too, because they're never at the office. So it'll ring at the office.
Oh my
and
goodness.
At your phone.
That'd be pretty nice, Steve.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about exactly what we're gonna do, because this program has the abilities to just call the department heads automatically on every single phone call to your
Does
cell
that
phone.
mean I'm gonna have an internet connection?
Yeah, so, yeah, so we'll have to see exactly what we're going to do, but at least for the Water Garage, they had an older system.
And they need it for the telemetry system or for the
At the other
things
sites.
to, yeah.
Yeah,
talk
the
to
other
each other.
sites are on a different system that's free because we let the company put their equipment on top of the
Right.
water tower.
All right, any other questions or comments, councilors, concerning this resolution? Anybody else have any comments, questions?
Save us money.
Okay. Not hearing any, since you're ready to vote, all those in favor of resolution 19-96, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that resolution passes. And next is discussion items.
All right, very good. Very quickly on the financial reports, you have the reports as of August 31st for all the financials, and then some other reports which are statistics. And so I will mention 4 items that I mention every month when we have the financial monthly reports. We have through, for both the budget and the revenue, 66.7% of the period, because we run on the calendar year, and with 66.7% of the period expended for budget, we have 56.9% of the municipal budget expended and 53% of the municipal water and sewer. For the revenue collections, again, we're at 66.7% of the period. We have 42.6% of the municipal revenues collected. So we are still remaining behind on the revenues. Usually they're caught up by now. So each year it's getting later and later by about a month. So we need to constantly monitor these. And we are through 43.9% of municipal water and sewer, and that should pick up because we're getting more of the water and sewer payments in. Excise tax collections, comparison of this time last year, we are $30,012.79 behind the 2018 collections. As we discussed, this will all be impacted by when the fleets come in. Sometimes the January fleets will come in December of the year, so you get over amount of excise tax, and then the next year it's lower, and we're in one of those situations now because last year in 2018, several fleets that would have registered in January came in December, which was great for that year, but put things behind this year. But the fleets may come in December again this year, so you have to watch this every month. Good news on the front of the state revenue sharing. We are now $36,185.85 ahead of the 2018 collections. So the two biggest revenue sources pretty much cancel each other out, as in terms of being behind last year and then ahead this year on state revenue sharing. State revenue sharing was increased as of July. So in July, due to the law that was passed, there was a small increase in the percentage of all of the sources for the state revenue sharing. So July and August payments were higher, as will be the next year.
Catherine, do we have an idea what that will be for the remainder of this year? The revenue sharing?
The payments don't, they didn't follow the percentage increase for the 2 months, so I know that we will be ahead of the revenue schedule at the end of the year, but I don't know how much now.
Maybe $12,850 for
that would be really good, wouldn't it? $13,000. That would work out perfectly. But the percentage increase in July was different than the percentage increase in August, so I'll be interested to see what happens in September.
Now, if they increase it across the board, why is it coming in?
I don't know. So we'll see what happens in September.
Huh.
It could just be the collections were a lot more than what was anticipated, and we have a percentage increase above what was paid in the past year since many years ago, 2008 or 9, state revenue sharing had been decreased substantially. So those are the 4 reports, and so we're monitoring the budget carefully, and we'll be monitoring it even more carefully now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is reports. Audience. Anyone in the audience this evening wish to speak? Please state your name, sir.
Peter Deshan, 317 Heartland Avenue.
Yes.
I don't mind having the horses go up and down the street, but with the little deposits that they're leaving, I don't like that. And I don't think I should have to shovel it up off the side of the road. I've got a 94-year-old mother that lives with me, and we occasionally walk up and down the street there, and as far as I'm concerned, that needs to be cleaned up. And I feel that those horses should have what the bag or whatever they are supposed to have on them. Those folks, being good neighbors, should do that. And I don't know how to take care of this problem. That's why I'm coming here.
Is there an ordinance?
I've seen them, I've been outside, but the horses are too quick, so by the time I get out there, they're gone. So I don't know what to do about the problem. Unless we have someone come by and clean it up.
We have done that on occasion, so I would think that this is a regular item that's happening now on your.
Well, it's all through the town.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's all over town. I've had
It's
two
all over
calls in the
town. I was
last
down
3
at the
weeks.
post office today.
About that.
and there's like 3 or 4 spots right on Heartland Avenue.
And I think, we have people have to clean up after their dogs.
That's right. I
You
mean,
know,
I don't have a
we
dog.
clean up
If I
after
had a
them,
dog, I had to
they clean
clean
up
it
after themselves, so.
You know. The only alternative I've got is to put in the bucket and take it out their house and dump it at their house. But,
So,
I think we ought to have an ordinance or something done.
yeah, is this just a certain 1 or 2 carriages, or?
No, we've
Well,
got,
it's not
these
like-
guys are up and down.
One at a time, please.
Okay. So
They've got on Thursdays to go down to the farm,
Okay.
where they have all the vegetables, the fruit stand and all that.
Okay.
But they're all, every day, they come by my house 2 or 3 times a day.
Okay.
I just, I'm trying to be a good neighbor and take care of my house and make it look presentable, and, as far as I'm concerned, they should curb their animal and take care of it.
Okay, thank you. We'll look into it.
The state of Maine's position on it is they won't do anything about it. It'll get.
Yeah, on DOT, yeah.
That's it. Your position on it can be whatever it wants to be. You can write an ordinance to require them to have a poop bag. So it goes into a bag. Is that gonna be 100%? No, but it might be 80.
Okay. And that's definitely an avenue we can look at.
It's gonna have to be enforceable though.
Yeah.
So it's like anything else, there has to be a mechanism to enforce it so it actually works.
Yeah, if you,
Does that work, Steve? Have you seen those? Or-
There's other cities throughout the country that have required them, and yeah, they work.
Are there other towns? Because we're getting more and more.
We can check with Fort Fairfield.
They don't
have
require it in
refused-
Unity. You have quite an Irish community in Unity.
Yeah,
that
there's
don't
one in
have
Fort
it.
Fairfield also.
It's not required over there.
I wouldn't.
I think we could, I think the ordinance committee could look into it and see if it's enforceable or not, or what kind of mechanism could be done. I mean, you could at least discuss it at an ordinance committee. Is that doable for everybody?
All right, well, add it to the ordinance committee's listing of items. Would you like to be notified when the meetings take place, or just get a phone call on status?
Phone call.
Okay.
would be nice.
So see me after the meeting, you can give me your
Okay.
phone number. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that.
I have a geriatric house, so it's kind of hard for me between my wife and my mother.
All right, thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak this evening? Yes, ma'am?
Jahala Tolman, 143 Raymond Street. I came across on Wednesday, September 4th, coming across the Industrial Park Road. There was 2 girls that were standing in the crosswalk, where Dunkin' Donuts is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had to go across there to go to Shop and Save. So as I was going into the parking lot, I had to stop. I rolled my window down and asked what the problem was. And the older girl said, well, she's not listening to me. There was a much younger gal with her. And I said, I told the little girl, I said, you really need to listen to who's older to listen. I said, because these streets are very busy. And it tends to get very busy. Over the years, we've been living here for 18 years now, and over the years it's gotten busier by A.E. Robbins, certain times of the day, morning and afternoon. So I watched as they walked across the street, and the little girl was kind of like trailing behind at A.E. Robbins. That store gets pretty busy as well. My concern is, I've seen several times that people have used the crosswalks. Cars have gone by pretty fast, not seeing people with eye contact there. I'm seeing hopefully there's not a problem, but I see in the near future that there will be. We need to do something before somebody gets killed. Have lights there or something, because I've seen times I've spent 15-20 minutes trying to get across, and people behind me getting very impatient and honking their horn. And I You know, this is a problem, you know, over the years here. I really think there should be lights or something there.
Okay.
I've even seen people trying to cross those crosswalk several times and cars don't even see them because they go too fast.
Thank you.
So you're-
Definitely needs to be looked at. It's something that we can look at when they do. We talked about that in the past with the traffic study and all that.
We'll be
years
talking
ago.
about traffic lights, we'll be talking about
There should be something there because,
Flashing
I
lights,
mean,
wasn't it?
there's also been several, accidents there too, right in that corner there where they, you know, and I've gotten out of my car, there's been recently, like last fall, somebody hit that wall there and I've had to literally pick up the pieces and put it on the top there. And that's coming apart too as well, so.
Actually, that wall needs to be shortened,
Or something because,
when that wall was built, trailers were 48 feet, I believe. Now, the tractor trailers mostly are being 53 feet. And that's the difference in why the wall's being struck, because they can't make the turn. Plus, you got more steering drivers than truck drivers than you used to have. You have a lot of demand for trucking, so you have a lot of unskilled people trucking, actually.
and then I had another question, it's like, why were those children walking when that was a half a day of school, like, if I'm not mistaken. Why were they walking anyways? Because I know for a fact that there's a school bus that drops the kids off at that trailer park on Industrial Park Road. That, you know, that just, as a parent, I mean, my kids are teenagers. I have one child in school now. And that just, I was like shooken up like the rest of the afternoon. I go, what if something should have happened to these children? You know? Because they were sitting right in that busyness there.
Is that something that there should be probably look and see what the chances are of getting a flashing light up there or something?
All right, that's a state intersection
Right.
Under the jurisdiction of the Maine Department of Transportation. So it's very hard to get a signal light, and that one I think would be extremely hard to get. However, we do have a set of flashing lights that was given to us by the state of Maine that needs a location, so that's something Steve could look at to see if there's any possible way to put that down there with MDOT's permission. And there may not be, because we have to meet all the handicap accessibility in order to put them up. But we do agree that is a very busy intersection. At some point, the next project that goes down there will trigger a big, massive review. But we don't know when that would be coming.
It should be sooner than later because, you know, it's been, you know, over years here.
Yeah, it is under the jurisdiction of the Maine Department of Transportation, and
They looked at that when they
we
put
can
them components in, right?
Yeah, they
There
did
was a
look
big
at
traffic
that.
study there.
Yeah, they did it.
They
There was a
decided
massive
that, and
traffic
they didn't
study.
need one, but I agree with you, it's very busy there.
I think it's so funny they did a traffic study that said there doesn't need to be a light, but didn't consider how much traffic would be going in once Dunkin' Donuts went in. Because I read that report and they said there's no need for a light. It's like, how is that possible? I mean, do you see the traffic that now that from A.E. Robbins early in the morning, and you know that's usually people stop there either or.
I think if they ever did another traffic study up there, the state.
They see a bigger increase.
We would trigger a light.
Yeah.
Are
with the
we
next
able to
traffic study.
request that the state do a traffic study?
No, we did,
An
but
amended
we can request it again.
Sure.
Maybe that's,
Well-
our first step is to request them to do another traffic study now that Dunkin' Donuts is in there.
We've got a
Because
couple
there's
of
like 5
years.
driveways all in one little section there.
And there may be more businesses, there may be increasing a
Right.
business up there, and I think as a town, we do our due diligence, we put it in and say, look, we got more businesses up here now, we've got more businesses going in, the traffic flow has gotten heavier, the tractor trailers are bigger now than they were 10 years ago. I think if we do our due diligence, then at least, then if something when they, like Catherine said, when they go up there, they have to do another big project. We've got all this paperwork that we submitted.
Well, the next project will trigger a big traffic study and probably a lot of enhancements, including like another lane or a traffic light.
Is there a painted crosswalk there also?
Yes.
Is it actually painted though? I mean, is
There's
it
one going
painted
across
on the
that way, one
crosswalk?
coming across Somerset.
Are we able to put like those bright green little people in the middle of the, is there a way to do that on the crosswalk because of all the ways people
We
turn
would
in
need to
there?
get more of those as they were all run over and damaged.
What about putting them on the side of the road, like at either side of the crosswalk, out of the road?
Well, they don't really work
You know
there.
what I mean?
We did that and people just didn't
You
see
can't-
it.
Go over.
Yeah, you're not gonna necessarily see them. They need to be out in the middle if they're gonna work.
What is this?
And that's not gonna work on a tractor trailer.
It is so
30.
much turning.
Speed limit is 30?
Yeah, they brought it down to 30.
So we're just dependent on the state to do something.
No, I don't know if they're going
Alright.
60 by
But
mile.
we can do another letter, and then if that doesn't work, we could do a little petition with signatures and
Well,
everything.
let's
that
do
we
the
put
letter
together.
first.
And we can, I don't see him, where'd Mr. Scott Strong go?
He left.
He left. We'll put a bug in his ear to put bugs in people's ears down there as well. I mean, it's all a concerted effort, right?
Yep, yep.
Yes, but there is another project wandering around down there, and if it did come to pass, there would have to be a major traffic study done, and
Good.
probably a lot of enhancements, but that could be a while. So we'll ask again about the traffic study, but we'll do a formal letter. If that doesn't work, then we'll have one that maybe has other signatures attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the speed limit's been reduced there to 30.
It was.
We did get that reduced.
Yes.
So,
By 5.
25, just up from there even. But they don't do that, they do way over that, so.
That's because they're coming off the interstate.
that has to be managed another way.
Most people don't even
Well,
stop.
I've already calculated it. I don't think
No,
they
but
have.
the minute they.
Speed bump.
They don't even
So-
stop
so-
at the coming off the interstate.
So
They
Steve
stop
will
sign.
look at that set of lights that you have to see if there's any way, it may just cause too much congestion down there.
Look at it and see.
I would not put those up without the resolve of the MDOT.
Oh, yes, they would have to approve it, because we're within the right of way of DOT, so anything we do down there has to be approved, even if it's on Industrial Park Road, which is the
So
town's
we
road.
can tell the DOT that that's what we're considering
Mhm,
and see what they're feeling about it.
mhm, and put that all together.
Usually they'll go along with it, they don't have to do anything.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
Anyone else in the audience wish to speak this evening? Pete?
Pete Wojdice, 127 School Street. Also, to Mr. Duchesne, right, Duchesne, is it? It's common, there was somebody else that knew that I come to the meetings that commented about that too, so he's not the only resident that has that issue. While we're on the subject of the Amish, I had another question to ask, knowing that I come. Do they pay taxes on their properties that they buy? Because they're buying up at all.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they would be like a regular taxpayer.
They are. Okay, they're not exempt because they're religious.
Not to my knowledge, unless there was some way to put it into a nonprofit trust or something. We can check and see, I don't think that's what's taking
Well,
place.
I know I sold my property to the Amish and they had to pay their portion of the taxes. So they had to go into the town of Palmyra. and
Yeah,
pay
regularly, they would be just like any resident.
Yep, this question somebody asked.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of the Amish, there was some talk about forming an ordinance about the horses and the debris. I wonder if it might not be neighborly to just speak with them before we move on an ordinance. They're kind of a tight community, and they might, as good neighbors, take care of the issue without formal action.
That would be one of the first steps.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be one of the first items to be done.
They are a very tight community, and they are very nice folks. So
I think so, and I think it would be neighborly just to speak with them before we hit them with an ordinance.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak this evening?
That's the mayor's new job.
Yeah. Nice. Yes, sir.
Ron Watson, 175 Main. I just want to say thank you for the special event permit. I'm really excited about that, and I think it's going to be a great event.
Well, you know, all the councilors will be down for samples.
Yes. I'm a great sampler.
And then Councilor Curtis, you were talking about the sidewalks, and I think that would be a perfect application for your hairdryer.
Oh, yes.
Anyone else this evening in the audience wish to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Amanda Collmore, Library Street. I just want to say that we really want them back next year for the Cheese Festival, because that was awesome, and I could walk. So, I had told a couple of people down there that it would be really cool if it came back to Pittsfield, and they said they weren't sure whether they were going to float it around the state or keep it in one place, but let's try to push for here.
This is our third location. And the idea was to move it around the state, but it's an incredible amount of work to have it in a different spot every year. And especially since we'll have a new coordinator next year, my feedback to them is that it should stay. You know, but yeah, it's kind of at the whims of the guild, the board, and what they decide to do.
How did it do?
We sold 948 tickets. And that doesn't include all the tickets that were given out to volunteers, like oodles and oodles of volunteers.
And that did, so it did well.
We covered our expenses. We did not
I mean, as well as in the past, right?
Not as well as in the past years. We've had upwards of 2,200 people attend.
Okay.
Part of that might be that it's in a new section of the state. There was a brew festival just the week before over in Skowhegan.
Oh, yeah.
The previous year's festival was held in a location that was way too small for it, so there was a lot of limitations on parking. People felt very crowded. They didn't like the venue. A lot of people swore they wouldn't come back. So it was an uphill battle this year trying to get people to come back that had been before. So there's a lot of different things in play there. And Pittsfield isn't like a really well-known like hotbed of exciting things either, so maybe we can kind of start that. I don't know, but we'll see.
Well, what it means is I don't have to spend my $200 down there this year. Next year. Yeah.
He took pictures of what he bought and put it on the
I
internet,
bought
so we
some
all would be.
cheese.
Oh, did you?
Oh, I did. I did all kinds
Did
of
you?
stuff.
Yeah.
I made a
Well.
little bit from it, but
All those people who want to kayak and stuff, maybe we could set up like a tent village area where they could spend the night and pay a fee, and then you get more revenue.
Yeah, well, I saw a lot of people.
I don't know if that's allowed in our park.
I saw a lot of people walking around the park. I saw a lot of people over on the snowmobile bridge, like looking up and down the river, and you know, people were just really enjoying the day. The beer tent was over by the water. People were like laying on the lawn, drinking their beer, and you know, it was just a nice afternoon for people.
Town might want to set up a little booth themselves.
I
if they
think the
come
town
back
missed
and-
an opportunity not having an information booth set up with like information about the rail trail and the walking trails and all the other things in town and stuff like that. So, you know, if they come back, it'd be nice to do that.
Okay, anyone else in the, thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak this evening? Anyone at all? Okay, not hearing any, I'll turn it over to the council now. We'll start with Heather.
Okay. Again, thanks to everyone for their support for the Cheese Guild. And as we were talking tonight, Tom Roberts got left off the thank yous. Tom and Lois's farm, Snakewood Organic Farm, they took all of the organic and compostable material. We had all the vendors had to use compostable plates and forks and cups and all that. So they took all that, and I brought that up to them, so that was nice. There was 3 large barrels and 2 half barrels, so that was all stuff that did not go to our landfill. And for everything else, Bolsters, we got a dumpster from Bolsters, so that was really good. It was super easy. So if you haven't had enough of cheese, Open Creamery Day is October 13th. It's a Sunday. We'll be doing farm tours again. I'm going to try and get Dragonfly Winery to come down and do wine tasting. Do I need a permit for that? If they're coming on their own Do I have to pull a permit?
They should have a permit.
Okay, good. I don't wanna
If
have to
they have a permit, you're okay.
Okay. That's up in the air still. But anyway, so there's 14 creameries signed up, so all across the state you can tap scotch around. Abrams Creamery up in Newport is close to us. We're here in Pittsfield, of course, and then also Amy Rowbottom has Crooked Face Creamery over in Skowhegan at the gristmill, at the Miller's Green gristmill. She'll be having open creamery day at her new spot. So there's 3 of us right in the close area, and then the next closest one would be Kennebec Cheesery down in Sydney. They have a goat dairy. So it's a fun day. It's a great afternoon, and usually it's like at peak foliage. So it's a really nice time to drive around. So ordinance committee, we'll work on that. Oh, really excited about the Taste of Pittsfield. We have a date for that, so that'll be a really great night. Assuming night is our time.
Afternoon.
Afternoon, great afternoon. Great afternoon. Great to hear about the MDOT work schedule with the two-way hangar and the sidewalk project. I had a question. Can we have, however the agenda is set up, and I'm sure it's as items come in, but can we organize it a little bit better so that our department head items can be right at the beginning, instead of having them sit through the whole meeting and then present last? A couple times it's happened this year where he always ends up going last, and I think we should try and be conscious of our department heads that they're coming from a full day of work and they're gonna have to have a full day of work tomorrow. And
so we're required to have the setup requires the ordinance, there's no choice, the order, and then the resolution goes with it, and then we usually do the public items that people would come for. So Steve was the next one.
So can we make a motion at the beginning of the meeting to move an item?
You can do that, yes.
So maybe we'll try and remember to do that next time.
Because the public did,
that.
you know, except for Ron, the public didn't come on the one item. But this time you had basically 1, 2, 3, 4. You had 5 items on the agenda, and Steve's was the 4th one.
Right. I mean, as long as it's listed on the agenda, people know we're going to be talking about it. It doesn't really matter what order we're in.
You can move them around.
Okay. So, all right. We all need to remember to do that next time. I had a question about the camera system up in the town office, what the status of that is, and if there's any things we need to be concerned about as far as privacy of either the employees or people coming in to the office to conduct business.
So that was researched, and we were told no. There's no issue.
There's no issue. So we'll just have signs posted at the front door that
big signs.
There's surveillance cameras
Signs
operating,
inside.
and you're being videotaped.
Yeah,
Smile and
signs
behave.
inside. Yeah, it's just like if you look around, these devices, I was surprised, I never noticed them. They're in all
They're
kinds
everywhere.
of stores. Yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Okay.
We had to do the same thing for the cameras here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but these signs will be bigger.
Okay. And you said water sewer was catching up. So does that mean that all of the billing issues and everything from not having the transponder reader thing has been all squared away and everybody got their updated
They were
bills and stuff?
squared away during the summer. The payments are now catching up.
So they're
because we
starting to
gave
catch
extra time.
Okay. So on that budget, you'll be expecting like a big lump sum to be coming at the end of the year because of that, or not?
We're catching up now because we have to remember we didn't have all the separate billings. So on your water bill, for example, for the people that got them, there wasn't the regular $40.20 charge on 2 bills because we had 1 bill, so we charged $40.20. So you've got the loss of the $40.20 per bill because there was no way to break down the bills during the when we didn't have the meter reader come in and it was on back order and everything.
So they're given extra time to catch up on
They
the
were.
bills that weren't issued in a timely manner because of the equipment, but
Correct.
then the regular quarterly coming
Correct.
in at the end of September would be due at the normal time.
Yes, everything's at the regular time now.
So everything's coming in, those funds are coming in at the regular time, and then plus the funds that were delayed from earlier in the year will be coming in?
Yes, most of which is in.
Okay. I just actually noticed this tonight on the general ledger summary. Peak is listed, and I'm wondering if it's not part of the town and it's its own entity, and we don't have any control over the budget or anything, why it appears on the town's ledger.
It's always been on the town ledger.
I think that's just for informational purposes.
Well, no, it's part of the town of Pittsfield, and it's been part of your audit since Peak started in the 1990s.
But if it's a separate 501c3
It is.
entity, then we shouldn't be carrying it on our, it should have its own ledger, and it should have its own operations and.
It's a 501c3 owned by the town of Pittsfield.
Okay, so it would be like us, we own the enterprise budget?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Got it. But we don't have any access to what the budget is and what the money's spent on or anything like that?
I have been putting through all of the expenses through the town warrants, and then have permission to go over and get the monies to reimburse the town. So actually you do, because the bills that are paid, which are very few, because there's been few items that we spent money on, those bills are all on the expense warrant. So you would see it. So you can see the expenses, because the 501c3 is owned by the town of Pittsfield.
So
you will want
it
to see
says
the
year-to-date net, which is spent $86,731.21. I only remember the $5,000 for the video.
Okay, so you remember that the airport needed to do its permits ahead of time, so
so they
Pete
funded
did
it.
did the funding for that, and now we're gonna get the grant that will be reimbursed and hopefully get here in this year, so
that'll
that
go back
cancels
in.
out, yes.
Okay. I'm all set with that then.
Yes. Yes, it'll be so much easier if it cancels out, and then there will be less journal entries and everything, and you can
Okay.
track it better.
Okay. Sorry, I was running on both sides of my envelope here. The other thing, I just wanted to offer condolences about the explosion in Farmington. The loss in the Farmington Fire Department goes beyond, and that community is going to be affected for years to come. Fire departments are really closely knit, and Dad was a firefighter, so it kind of gets close to home.
All right. Anything else, Heather? All set? Yeah, thank you. Howard?
I just want to thank folks for coming. Again, the Chiefs Fest I think was great, and I think that the fact that people are asking about things to do in town, I think if they have it here again, I think that the town should try to be a little bit more proactive in knowing what is coming down the road. Also want to express my thanks for the police chief for basically starting his monthly reports that was requested again by I think Councilor Billings a couple of months ago, and I've gotten the last couple that he's done. I think it's useful to know what's happening in the safety department, and that's it.
Thank you, Howard.
Yep.
Matt?
Sure, I'd just like to thank Donnie for coming in and giving us that long presentation. It was a lot to talk about, just trash, but I was thankful for him doing all the homework and information he gave us, all the options. Also, Steve, I'd like to thank him for coming in and giving us the samples, and he went the extra mile to go to the pits and get everything to show us. I mean, I feel like if he didn't do that and didn't have the bags of sand to show us, we would have been like, why would we want to pay $14.95 over $10.50? We probably would have made, I don't know if it's a worse decision or a bad decision, but it may not have come out the way it did. So I want to thank him for going above and beyond for what he did. I'd also like to thank Heather for bringing the cheese festival here. I know you played a huge part in getting it to Pittsfield. Let's be honest, they probably wouldn't have come to Pittsfield if you wasn't a part of that guild. So I'd like to thank you for bringing almost 1,000 people here to Pittsfield and showing off what we have. Hopefully they'll be back here next year. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Bob?
I want to thank Pete for coming in. Specifically, I had 2 phone calls on the same subject in the last couple of weeks. And like I said, we make our dogs clean up after our dogs, so we should at least, like he said, ask them, and then maybe end up putting an ordinance together. However that's going to work, I don't know. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but on the interstate off-ramp coming from Newport, they got those nice new wrong way signs.
Mm-hmm.
But one of them's got the red light, flashing light just hanging there. I don't know if somebody hit it with a truck or what happened, but maybe we could let DOT know that that needs to be worked on.
Right, that must be pretty recent.
It's been at least a month.
Yeah,
Oh my
it's
goodness.
been quite a few weeks. It's been months.
But maybe we need to let DOT know about that. And I'd like to echo Howie's comments. Thank you everybody for coming in. I know Mike Chinkat used to do that all the time, but you're the reason we're here. So thank you again. Catherine, thank you for your work upstairs and the staff. You guys put in many long, hard hours, and it shows.
You can come right up and help us sometime. And you'll be running from the office.
You could answer phones.
Yes, you could.
That's all I have.
And that's always an experience.
Oh, yes. Caleb?
I'd like to thank the audience, and the 2 presentations tonight were really good. There are a lot of, interesting subjects, and they're stuff that really affects the people in the town. It's hard stuff to make the right decisions on sometimes, but hopefully we did the right things tonight. And I think it was great, Heather, all the work you put into the cheese festival. I just wish I wouldn't have been so busy flying, but could have come. But and other than that, no report.
Okay, thank you, Caleb. I'll try to be brief. I want to thank everybody for coming. It's good to get people out of the audience to come and participate. I'll get the condolences and the bad news out of the way first. Like I said, my heart goes out to the firefighters in Farmington, and my father was fire chief here for years. Bernard was his assistant. That's how long ago it was. And my middle brother, was 25-year firefighter for Manchester, New Hampshire. And so that goes in my family as well. They're a tight-knit group. And my condolences go out to that. My condolences also go out to the family of Bud Jones. Everybody knows Bud. I've known him since I was a kid. He probably had more time in here than I did, believe it or not. As hard as it is to believe. He was always trying to do what he could to help Pittsfield out. He was our representative in Augusta for a while. So my condolences go out to Barbara and his family, the rest of his family as well.
It was a very nice celebration of his life.
Yeah. And good news, the Cheese Fest worked out very well. They say 950, but I bet you it's close to 2,000 probably wandered through that. And I very seldom say good things about newspapers, but I wanted to thank the Waterville Sentinel because they put out a very good article about us and the success that it had down there. If we are fortunate enough to get that next year or the year after, I think everything's always a learning curve, but I think it would be good, like I said, when we try to make sure that we have Pittsfield represented in the different recreational activities that we have. We can put a booth down there. If we know it's coming, we know what kind of crowd we may get. I think we'd have plenty of time to plan it up, and we could probably get somebody to volunteer to get down there and pass out pamphlets or whatever. I think that's something that we, hindsight being 2020, if we get another chance at it, I think we'll probably make that work. Excuse my cold. I want to tell you guys thank you for being patient. I know the meeting tonight was a little on the unorthodox side because we had presentation of dirt, And we kind of went out and around a little bit, but it was informative.
Sand, we don't want
Dirt, sand.
Dirt and sand, dirt, sand, and salt for winter. We got the whole load down, and kind of took things a little out of order. But the thing of it is if sometimes if you do things a little outside the box and people get more information, you make a better decision. So, maybe it didn't follow every little knot, nick, cranny the way it should have, but it worked out. Also, I'd like to thank the new businesses that are coming in and all the help that we're getting. And we've still got businesses. We got a business that's going to be expanding, and we got some other things in the fire that hopefully we'll can't comment on right now, but it'll work itself out. And I think that Pittsfield is on the move when it comes to jobs and stuff. We're starting to see growth, and I do agree that we need something up there. That intersection up there that you were talking about is very busy now. Compared to 10 years ago, it's 3 times as busy as it used to be. So yeah, I absolutely feel that should happen. And other than that, thank you all for coming, and I have nothing else, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
We'll be adjourned.
Second. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, we are adjourned. Catherine. Excuse me.
Hey, old man.
They might have got moved upstairs with everything.
I've got a very bad cold. I've had it for a week.
No, I understand.
I've had it since last Sunday, and I still haven't got rid of it yet. Huh?
Seriously.
There is. Yeah, he's just been doing family stuff. I have my phone on.